Okay. Right, it is 9. All right, guys, a very good morning. It is 9 a.m. sharp. So we'll be starting our session uh, on this very, over here in Penang is still a very clear day. It's a nice clear day in the morning. I hope it is the same in UG too. Uh,
Yeah, it is.
yes, yesterday I heard it was a bit of a heavy rain, is it?
Yes.
Ah, here still dry. Uh, anyway, so today what we are going to do is we are going to look into the OBE concepts and ideas. Now, I believe many of you would have already covered or have gone through sessions. So this would be a very good refresher course for all of us. Okay, where we will see what OBE is, how OBE came about, the application, and also the challenges faced when we apply OBE concepts, and also how OBE relates to our assessment. Now, when we look into OBE here, OBE is not so much a practice. I mean, now it's not so much like a set rule. Okay, OBE or outcomes-based education is very much a practice and also a belief that at the end of the day, what we want to look at here is the achievement of the students, and to ensure that what students achieve over there is something that it is deemed as important in a way that for them to achieve their particular goals. So if you look into this outcomes-based education, you just break down the words itself, outcomes-based education. So when we look at the outcomes there, it's going to be on the concept of the individual. So there must be something to base with. When you want to know outcomes, there must be something that you need to base with or reflect or refer or compare with. One simple aspect that I always like to use about outcomes based is basically when we do baking. For many of you, how many of you do baking or baking breads or biscuits or cakes and so on? You do? All right.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, simple as that. We all do. I mean, I do. I like the baking part. I just don't like the cleaning part. All right. You air fry things, air fry. Okay, neat. All right. So basically, when we want to bake bread, there is certain key aspects that in our mind we want the final outcome to be. So the final outcome is for us to have, of course, edible product, the bread itself, but that bread must have certain conditions. It could be texture, it could be taste, it could be color. I'm just using that three as a very basic example: texture, taste, color. So those are the outcomes over there. All right. So for us, for the bread to be successful in a way, it must have texture, taste, color. So what we do then, we structure our whole behavior and we learn and we adapt to the surrounding to ensure we achieve that goal. You may ask, hey, what do you mean by adapt to the surrounding? It means when you have that outcome of that bread, but you're baking at home, due to the conditions in your home and that same oven that you have, you are quite structured. I know how my oven works. But suddenly you want to make bread in your mother's house. All right. And over there in your parents' place, the oven is different. For those of you who bake, you will know using an electric oven and a gas oven is totally different. All right. It's very, very different how you control this and that. However, you want the same outcome. The outcome must be the same, but the conditions have changed. So when the conditions have changed and the outcome remains the same, there must be certain adaptation. All right. There must be certain adaptation. You need to adapt on your behavior, on your style, on your method to ensure that the outcome remains the same. That is just bread. What about us in class? It is the same. When we have students, we want a certain outcome in them. Outcome is their CLO lah, course learning outcome. This is what they must achieve. But are the conditions the same? No, they are not. Because the room may be the same where you are teaching the student, but the ingredients are different. And who are the ingredients? What is in it? What is the ingredient over there? In class, what is the main ingredient for you to achieve that, for us to see the outcome? What do you think? Any of you? in class, we have so many, we have 30 different individuals. So the individual ingredients are different, but we want the same outcome. Because of that, we will need to adjust and adapt our behavior. When we say behavior, that means the way we react, the way we deliver, the way we relate to our particular to that particular ingredient and condition, because we want all of them to achieve the same goal. That is how it is lah. So I just want to continue with this analogy of baking. Sometimes when you read recipe, that orang putih recipe, they say 4 eggs. But you must always understand, there are 4 eggs there over in overseas. The egg very besar one, you know. We're talking about 70-gram eggs, you know. Over in Malaysia, sometimes our eggs, if I'm not wrong, our A is 65 grams. Our B will be 60 grams, and our C is, I think, 50 or 55 grams. Don't quote me, something like that lah. So if for them, the recipe is a Quilo recipe that states 4 eggs or 5 eggs, and the condition of their eggs there are of different size, we in Malaysia cannot use 4 eggs. We need to use 5 eggs to ensure the same achievement, that the bread or the cake is successful. So we adapt. We adapt because the whole environment is different depending on the surrounding and depending on where we are. All right. So now, taking that analogy on in the general concept of baking itself, and now when you relate into our field, which is education, all right, in academia itself, it is the same. Because when you look into outcomes-based education, the key aspect here is not what we deliver. It's not us mixing the flour with eggs and so on. It is the final outcome of the product that we aim to achieve, which is students' achievement, which is students' knowledge, which is students' goal. And in our context here in Malaysia, due to the MQA and the MQF itself, we have these things called program learning outcome, which then drives course learning outcome, which then drives lesson learning outcome, which will have a big impact on assessment. All right. So that is why that is the big chain of OBE. When we talk about OBE, all of these are related. So ours is the students' learning outcome that is important. So today we are going to go into that journey, a little bit of a journey, because I see in my group today, the many of you, some of you have already been to my session, so you know basic concepts of OBE, but some of you are new. All right. So I will need to adapt this into that general environment. OBE lah. At the end of the day, my outcomes are to ensure every individual, regardless of your understanding of OBE itself, understands the key concept of OBE. Now, for me to add in another caveat over there, understanding and mastery is totally different. We understand something, but doesn't mean we are masters. So in today's session, as you go, you will understand the key concepts and ideas, but rest assured, you will not be a master. So don't worry. Don't worry. At the end of the day, you say, okay, there are too many things. How am I? And this and that. No, don't worry, because it is a gradual adaptation. That in the thing about OBE is it is very fluid. It is not like a science, it's not fixed, it's very fluid. It requires your experience and the way that you see the surrounding for you to adapt to ensure the goal is achieved. So experience, observation, all of this will then make you a better OBE practitioner. All right, to make you a better OBE practitioner itself. Exactly. For us, we masak, we follow recipe. You ask our parents, where got follow recipe one? They all sugar is everything is secubit, segenggam, everything like that. For us, we cannot segenggam. We need to 20 grams, 15 grams. For them, it's by taste. And I still remember my mom, when she was cooking, she makes the best rendang. All right. Don't forget, I was brought up in Johor. So my lontongs and my sotos and so on is the best. All right. So basically, take spoon, taste. Something is missing. Something is not there. Kayu manis or something like that. She will know immediately what makes her such a good OBE practitioner. Outcomes-based, outcomes-based is a good curry. What makes her that? Experience. Whereas for me, I still need to follow recipe, because Curry, sometimes when you want to tumis all of those things, is actually not easy. So I follow recipe. But if I do that every day, okay, immediately I will have the skill already. So guys, don't worry. It is something that over time you will adapt and you will see, and from there you will be a better practitioner. All right, guys. All right. Okay. So basically, that is what we are going to do. I'm going to, due to my screen, I'm just going to move this now. I hope if the chat comes in, I can see, because I want to show the full screen. Okay. Okay. So let's start over here. Now, guys, since I cannot see the due to my computer's configuration, if you have any questions, just pause me and let's use just switch on your mic and ask me the question. Okay? Can? Because I can't see the whole participants over there now. All right? All right.
Okay.
Very good. Okay. Now, for LO, what we are going to achieve is the concepts of OBE. All right. Identifying the concepts and theories of learning. We're going to touch about theories of learning and also the learning domains. All right. We are going to touch about learning domains. And definitely in this, especially on the learning concepts and theory of learning, we are also going to touch aspects later as we look into on assessment also. What kind of basic assessments or key assessment parts that needs to be considered. Now, I will need to acknowledge those people that I have worked with and have assisted me very much in this. Of course, books and online resources, there is a lot written about outcomes-based education. The thing about general academic theory is this, not everybody supports it. Not everybody finds certain key theories are feasible, but generally the practice of it is something that it is I would say have a lot of merits lah. Have a lot of merits. Okay. Then of course I have this gentleman, Tuan Haji Muhammad Nazri. This gentleman was the one that previously, quite a few years ago, did training with us. And during that time, I was in contact with him, and he also said, "Yep, you want to use some of my slides? Go ahead." Now, this gentleman over here actually does a lot of training with the industry one. Okay, and of course, my fellow colleagues, all of you. Sometimes when I have conversations with you all, I also learn from the challenges that you go through, and from there it actually rings in my mind that at the end of the day, maybe there are certain things which I should also look into. All right, so I would like to thank all of you also. All right, as I said, the whole thing is fluid, it is alive, it is constant, and it is always changing. So for us as practitioners, we also need to open our eyes and see. That is why one thing that I would like to encourage my colleagues, all of you, for this year and forward is sometimes it is good to knock on your friend's door, your colleague, your friend, and say, "Hey, can I observe your class?" No problem one. You just go into their class, then you sit inside there, then you observe. Okay. Because sometimes when you see certain things your friends are doing, it will ring a bell in your mind. And then you say, it could work in my class for certain circumstance. All right. Certain time, certain circumstance, it could work. So because of that, why not? Okay. So I think the first thing we need to understand is when we talk about OBE, outcomes-based education, this person will always come into your mind. Bill Spady, also his name is William Spady. Uh-huh. This gentleman also he did quite a bit of writings on OBE itself, and he is then regarded as the father of OBE. All right. Now, basically, in his writings, his writings are very lengthy, and also it does a lot of research on American educational system and how they wanted to transform the American educational system for them to be more competitive. All right. So he came up with these three basic premises, okay, in OBE itself. Okay, outcomes-based education. Number one, all students can learn and succeed. All students can, he said. But, or however, not on the same day in the same way. So that is something very important. It is not durations-based education. It is not contents-based education. It is outcomes-based education. Outcome is the final goal you want to achieve. All right. It is not the time that is taken. So what he says is this: every student can succeed regardless. Sure can succeed one. Okay. But not in the same day in the same way. Some people need more time. Some people need less time. Some people need to be shown. Some people can read on their own and they will understand. It is the same. Some of our students, you tell them once, they understand. Some of the students, you need to tell them 3 times because they're not the same. All right. So that is how it is. 2, success breeds success. When students are successful, they achieve their goal, motivation or drive in them itself will then push them for higher level of success. So this is how it is. Basic premise here will be very simple. For those of you who teach accounting or something where it is more sequential, something over the other. I still remember I was a student who dread accounting. Had to do like when you do MBAs and degrees and so on, you have to do accounting one or finance to a certain extent. The thing about accounts is because it is progressive, if let's say I go into accounts class, I go to Adrian's accounts class, for example, and chapter 1, chapter 1, I understand. Chapter 2, certain key concepts, I'm a little bit blur over there. Then what happens in chapter 3 is due to my not understanding chapter 2, chapter 3 will be infected. And it goes on. And because of that, I will lose motivation. Okay, so it is important for us to ensure that students understand as they go through, because it's outcomes based. So what we do now in the second statement over here is we break down outcomes, not of the course, the whole subject, accounting 001, but we break down the outcomes into lessons. Outcomes of lesson 1, outcomes of lesson 2, outcomes of lesson 3. So when the outcomes of lesson 1 is achieved, when students go to outcomes of, when they go to lesson 2, success on lesson 1 will breed more success. They're motivated. Wow, I paham, I understand. You see? So I go to lesson 2 and it goes on. So the second premise here states it is important for us to have formative feedback. Formative feedback. For me, okay, now I would just like to take a few seconds to explain. Many of you would have known formative and summative feedback. Summative feedback is any, sorry, I won't use the word feedback, summative assessments, formative assessment, summative assessment. Okay, summative assessments are any assessment that has a direct impact on the student's final grade. It could be tests, midterm exam, assignments, final exam. Example lah, or presentation, that is summative. Formative is very much anything to us to ensure that students achieve their goal. It could be every lesson you do a simple reflective essay or an exercise that it doesn't impact in the final grade of the student. That is called formative assessment. With good formative assessment, you will give formative feedback to the student. Okay, so if I'm in your accounts class, let's say I'm in Adrian's accounts class. I do not know whether he teaches accounts. So you do teach it? Is Adrian in this class, in this group?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you teach accounts?
Of course lah. That's
Oh,
the
you
only
teach
thing I good at.
That's the only thing you teach. I just want to be
Mm.
sure lah, So let's say I'm in his class, and suddenly there is one particular topic on, let's say, a balance sheet or whatever. And during that time, at the end of the class, he does some assessments over there. And during that assessment, he gauges my competency. So it is because the goal is in this lesson or in this week, the students, the outcome is to achieve that. So he does a certain basic test in class and he finds out that 30% of the class still do not understand the basic concepts of debit and credit. So in his mind, lingers. 30% don't achieve outcome. And because of this, if they don't achieve this outcome this week, next week, we are going to add in more things already. We are going to do depreciation, this and go on, what is it, and so on. So students will be a little bit impacted. So he will then take a corrective action. It is called corrective action. What is corrective action? Corrective action can be a revision or a review to that particular group of students or something like that. That is outcomes based. So at the end of the day, he has done assessment, he has done evaluation, and the outcomes of the students will then have been achieved. So in the next week, students will then start on a new slate very positively. Success breeds success. And finally, the third premise is schools control the conditions of success. Schools or institution. The school here is a generic term, colleges, institutions, and so on. Here, we control the conditions of what success is. Okay, so the institution plays a big role. All right, regulations, environment, and so on. This will play a very big role in the success. It is not only the student. So what Spady tries to emphasize here is we have cikgu, facilitator, lecturer, we have student, but the bigger picture also plays a role. We cannot say that the conditions that the students are in does not have an impact on the student itself, or the student's success is directly related to the lecturer. No, that is not. The school, the environment itself plays a very big role in the student's success. So that is the three premise. Okay. The first one is the most critical one. All right. All students can learn and succeed in their own way. Okay. So when we talk about outcomes-based education, it's not what we want to teach. It is not what we want to teach. It is what the students should learn. All right. So it has nothing to do with the what we like, what we want to teach. No, it is what the student should learn. And what students should learn is always driven by course learning outcomes, which is driven by program learning outcomes, which are driven by program educational objectives. All right. Okay, so it actually goes up. Later, we will actually discuss about that. So what students should learn here is critical. That is why when we look at a simple course such as like marketing, if marketing for diploma, marketing for degree, marketing for masters, maybe marketing per se, but due to their level, what students should learn will differ. Okay, this is what that differs. So when you talk about the outcomes itself, what must the students achieve at this particular level, then it is driven. So you need to understand what should a diploma student in marketing, diploma student learning marketing, what should they learn in comparison with one that is doing a degree? One that's doing a degree, to also marketing mah. So how do you differentiate it? Okay. So when we talk about OBE versus traditional education, traditional education is very much content-based learning. Content-based learning is one where something is structured, it is fixed. We don't look at what the outcome is needed, then we just give. So when we talk about OBE, OBE actually emphasizes quite a bit about active learning. All right, we want students who are more active compared to a more passive environment in the content-based learning system. Now, I did my SPM in the early 90s, 92. All right. So during that time, it was very different. All right. I believe it was very different compared to how it is today. During that time, it was very content-based. We after our Form 3, we do a Form 4 and Form 5. We study, and then it's always like this. Form 4 and Form 5 final exam SPM, whatever it is, whatever subjects in Form 4. Form 4, it was taken like a honeymoon year because like nothing is very critical over there. The key exam is in the Form 5 SPM exam. All right. So basically, it is structured in such a way that it is very content-based. All right. You just have to finish that, memorize. Then after that, you regurgitate. Okay. There is less general aspects of active learning. So in certain classes, we just sit there, we listen, cikgu teach and whatnot. But today things have actually broken down into very different areas. Okay, where the third part I want to stress there in OBE, things such as like critical thinking, reasoning, reflect, and action. So why are these important now? Because the industry is telling us, guys, your student must achieve this. Your student, when they come with a degree, they mustn't only come with a degree. They must be able to analyze. They must be able to think. They must be able to question. They must be able to be independent. So that is the outcomes. Okay, that is the outcomes that is needed by the industry. Because of that, the way that we teach must reflect that also. That is why we see a lot of different kinds of assessment that is being used today compared to how it was previously. Okay. Any questions, guys, so far? Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So the paradigm shift in the education and training philosophy, there is this paradigm shift. So because of outcomes-based education, the basic paradigm shift is from teacher-centered to student-centered lah. TCL, teacher-centered learning, was where the teacher is at the top and then the students are at the bottom. So what happens now is it is a flip pyramid lah. It's a flip pyramid where the students is student-centered. Student is critical on top there. The mass is critical on top there, and teachers to facilitate. Now, so teachers to facilitators means the changing role of us itself. Now, so our role as educators will be one to facilitate. To facilitate means to guide. We show the students the goal. We assist them on the pathway for them to achieve that goal. So if they divest or they come out from the path, we push them back in again. That is our role. In the traditional sense, being teachers is we hold their hand. Holding their hand in the sense that we give them notes, we teach them, kita mengajar, you do this, you do this, you do this, this is how it is, this is how it is. So students' mind is absorbed. Okay, so now it is a little bit of a change. We tell the students, this is important, you need to understand the key concepts here. These are the key concepts. Now let's apply it. Okay, how would you do this? So we give them access to learn. Okay, now, so in the traditional sense, it was quite difficult because our secondary schools was one that created a lot of teacher-centered learning previously. Then when they came to university, suddenly the court was switched 180 degrees. So students had what you call a culture shock. That is why previously a lot of students were culture shock. It's either you make or you break. So because of that, a lot of universities were also continuing in a more traditional way, teacher-centered. All right. But now the market is evolving. All right. And because of that, you will see that even in secondary and primary school, for those of you who have children, you will see that a lot of the assignments that your children bring home is one that you also do with your students, is one that you also do with your students in university, I mean. All right. I know because I have a niece who sometimes comes and asks me to help on her homework. They even have business pitching business concepts, ideas, which I find is very good. And they actually do very good work. They do market audit, auditing customers' needs and so on. What do they actually want? Then how do we meet customers' demands and so on? This is the changing environment. So even she is in junior year, which is like, I think, Form 3 or something like that in private school, but these are the things that they're doing already. So when these students go over to universities and we are facilitators, then they will adapt easily over here. They will adapt. All right. So this is a paradigm shift. Now, the shift here is driven not by us, educators. Okay. We educators are changing to be facilitators because the industry is telling us what they want. And the industry is telling us that, hey guys, we don't want workers to come in and suddenly come in and sit down there and wait to be told. We want staff, people who are willing to take the initiative, to be able to work with people. So this is what the industry wants. And because that is what they want, then we have no choice but to start developing these skills in school, all right, in university. And the secondary and primary school students know that because this is what the industry want, they have to start young. So the whole ecosystem is not only our responsibility to ready the student. It's not only us, it is the whole thing. So when we talk about OBE, we talk in university itself. All right. However, this is also practiced in secondary school and so on. Now, the challenging part is our secondary schools, we have a system, but the way it is applied, it is different. The way that is applied, it is different. All right. Certain rural schools may not have the resources to do what an urban school may have, which comes to us too. Tailors will do OBE differently. Sunway will do it differently. All right. And so on. Okay. Because why? Remember, making bread, the ingredients are different. What kind of students go there? Okay. Now, I give you another example. This is something very clear. Previously, I used to be based in the Damansara Jaya campus, on and off, even under TLC. Every 2 days, I'll be in Damansara, and then the rest of the days I'll be in UG and so on. So when I'm in Damansara, I actually assist students on their university application. Now, these are what you call Petronas scholars. Now, we used to do a lot of A-level students sponsored by Petronas. So Petronas is a big company. Petronas select the creme a la creme only, top students, all the 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 A's, 20 A's kind of students lah, very good one. So they will come over and they will sometimes ask, sir, can you help me, you know, and this and that. So they will bring their essays. A lot because they are applying for the top universities in the world. So these top universities require the student, normal lah, it's called writing essay application, the reason why you want to study here. Those universities have more demand than supply. So there's a lot of people wanting to join them one. So I have students, Petronas scholars that come and say, sir, this is my 7th draft. She writes 7 times already. So now I want you to check. She only came to see me after she felt that this is something which I want to give. That kind of student, I really tabib, seriously. Really, she puts her effort in, and the way she wrote it, I read, I say, wow, you only 19 years old, right? Yeah, just finished SPI. It's 18 or 19, I can't remember lah. This lady. The way she wrote, she can put to shame my degree year 3 student. She can put to shame easily. The way she reflected, the way she reviewed. Now, why? Ingredient good lah. She is a good ingredient. Because the ingredient is good, OBE very easy. If I'm teaching her in my class, or let's say I'm teaching marketing, if she is my student, to achieve outcomes based very easy because I know she is driven. So the ingredient is good lah. All right. But there is, of course, on the other side of the quantum, you know lah, those students, you give assignment, you give them 3 weeks, and in day number 20, 3 weeks is 21 days. On the day number 20, they knock on your door. Sir, how to do? Then you ask them, what have you done? Show me, I can help you. I haven't do yet. You guide me, you tell me what to do. The other side of quantum. Okay. So this is where the challenges that we face when we want to achieve OBE. So for us now, from teachers to facilitators, so we are trying in a way the whole ecosystem from primary, secondary, tertiary to going out to work, the whole ecosystem is to build individuals that will be able to adapt to these demands of the industry. The one that the industry wants in big companies are those like the Petronas scholar. Reality, they do their work first, and after that, they will come and discuss with you, and the work is good. But in reality, we have the others also. Not saying that these people are bad people. No, it could be a different environment that they have gone through. All right. And because of that, we as facilitators, we are supposed to assist that drive for them to achieve. Pause sekejap, pause sekejap. I have somebody delivering coffee. I'm doing training. Okay, I think you can see it. Say hello. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. An. Okay, all right. Okay, so you understand, guys, that is the whole basic concept of things. All right. And that's why sometimes I feel excited when I'm in this speaking to educators and so on. I feel excited to see that what kind of new innovation do we do to ensure this role that we play as facilitators is successful. Not easy lah, but that is what we try lah. Okay. Any questions, guys? Can Okay. Now, so when we talk about outcomes-based education versus other models in the traditional sense, we education when it actually education there is no date of when education actually started in a way, because this has been going on for since time in beginning. All right. So when we talk about mastery-based education looks into measuring proficiency. Proficiency means can do. All right. Then after that, you evolve to competency-based education, can do on a particular duration, time. And finally, it is outcomes-based education. Not only can do, not only at a specific time, but understand why proficiency matters. Understand why we need to do this. Why? Why we need to do this. That is outcomes based. The outcomes is this, why we need to do that, the reason for us to be able to achieve that itself. Okay. Now, so OBE here, how does OBE evolve or impact the other aspects as us as educators? So OBE will impact standards of education. All right, the educational standards, what is needed will evolve. That is why when you look into the Malaysian educational framework, MEF, the educational framework itself, I think 3 years ago there was a MQF 2.0, okay, Malaysia's qualifications framework. No, not 3 years ago, 2017, 2018, they came out with a new standard. Now, do you remember last time we have the 8 domains that the students will need to achieve? Okay, 8. All right, knowledge, this and that, same. Then after that, they came down to the 5 clusters. They changed to the 5 clusters. Why did the government evolve that MQF2? All right, the reason was because the government, the MQF Malaysian Qualifications Framework 2.0 is driven by what the country wants to achieve in the future. What the country, Malaysia, wants to achieve. If Malaysia wants to achieve it as a country that exports and also works on knowledge economy, knowledge, so you need to make sure the ingredients come in is the same. So the government also do OBE, outcomes based. They see in Malaysia from 2025 to 2030, what do we want Malaysia to be? Is it still agricultural? Is it what do you call that? Nature resource heavy in that country, or are we looking at knowledge-based industry? And from there, they understand for us to achieve this in 2025 to 2030 and beyond, I need to prepare by 2015 because we need to train the students lah. We need to make sure the students in standard 1 or maybe in form 1 and then go to university are ready. That is where MQF comes in. All right. So for them, that is the outcomes based. That is what they want to achieve. So the prior to that, there was a set. Then it evolved into MQF 2.0. All right. And MQF 2.0, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it won't set in stone, definitely. I foresee it changing very soon. There's going to be an MQF 3.0. Maybe the 5 clusters will evolve. Why? Because what happened on 18th of March 2020, which was the day of infamy for many of us, COVID, how COVID attacked and then we actually had a lockdown, change the industry, change the way people think, change the way industry works, all right? Change the value system, what is important, all right? So because this sudden change, it impacts the demands of industry, it impacts what needs to be given to them. So the government may also think, Malaysian government, MQF 2.0 was developed in 2017, 2018. During that time, that was what was expected. But in 2020s, this thing happened. Will we need a change because the outcomes have changed? If the outcomes change, this is what you want to achieve, and you don't change, you will never succeed. You won't succeed because you are training people for a wrong outcome, for a different outcome. Outcome sudah tukar, your goal change already. Your map, you want to go KLCC, all right? But halfway your journey from Glenmurray to KLCC, you pass Subang Medical Center, you pass Subang Parade Park and Federal Highway, suddenly your request, now you don't want to go KLCC, you want to go Museum Negara. It happens during the journey. So if you follow your same map to KLCC, you won't go Museum Negara, you still go KLCC. So you need to restructure. You need to change your map. You need to change. Now you need to go to Museum Negara. So this is how it is. Okay. Now, if you don't do that, you make mistake over that, the whole ecosystem will fail. All right. So standards of education, OBE, directly impact. When standards of education are impacted, curriculum should impacted. Definitely one. All right. Program standards impacted. That is why when you see program standards, it changes. All right. So that is why sometimes when I see certain program standards haven't changed in 2014. 2013, tak boleh lah, sudah 10 tahun. It evolved mah. Okay, so this is how the evolution is. Look at your own discipline, business school, engineering, and so on. Look at the program standards. Engineering, we have our engineering colleagues over here. You guys are governed by the engineering board. Engineering board also evolve. And sometimes every year or every duration, they will send circular. Okay, sekarang kita kena mengajar ini. Now we need to teach this kind of thing. We need to emphasize on this. We need to emphasize on that. There must be a subject on ethics. There must be this, there must be that, and so on. Why? Because they also got OBE, outcomes based. They want engineers graduate in Malaysia, when they go out to the industry, can achieve certain goal. So they also evolve. They also evolve over there. And when they evolve, they instruct us and it will impact our curriculum. Okay, then of course, accreditation requirements, OBE, MQA, definitely. Industry drives it, all right? Industry drives what we do. And of course, continuous improvement. OBE, outcomes-based education and continuous improvement are paid buddies. Okay, so if a lecture doesn't work in your class, your outcomes is for them. Okay, I give an example lah. Teaching accounts again lah. You've been teaching accounts of students still tak boleh masuk. Ayo, macam bagaimana macam ni? Alright, how? So you do continuous improvement. You may say, okay guys, students, let's say got 10 students. Tomorrow, all of you follow me. Let's go to the Mama in Glen Marie. We all go to Ali restaurant there. The class will be there, 10 a.m. So you go over there, you sit down. Okay, all of you now, you order your drinks. After they order the drinks already, they order their food, then you teach them accounts by using actual life. Look at this. I don't know lah. Maybe not accounts. I want to use something hospitality because I'm hospitality based. We are teaching cost control. We are teaching food cost control. So look at this, guys. Look at this roti canai. You just ordered. You are paying 2 ringgit and 20 cents over there with the dal and so on. What is the food cost? What is the food cost? Then the students will say, sir, this one flour, this and that. I'm looking at an average of 35 to 40%. So then you question that. What do you think? Do you think that out of that 2 ringgit and 20 cents that they are selling you a roti canai, food cost 30% is only 66 cents. So the rest of the seringgit 50 sen, roughly, seringgit 54 sen is profit. Then students will say, no lah, because we are, then they look in the restaurant. No lah, sir, have to pay electric. No lah, sir, have to pay labor. No lah, sir, have to pay sewa. See, because of a different environment, suddenly the students in class that know nothing one become intelligent in a way lah. All right, because they relate. That is called continuous improvement on the way we deliver. Just one example. Just one example. Sometimes the environment impacts the way that the students learn, and that is outcomes based. Because for us, what is important? They understand cost control. They understand food costs. They understand variable costs. They understand the general ratio or the breakdown of food variable and so on. They understand that when we are doing perishables like food, there should be a low food cost, higher profit margin because of risk factor. Risk. You don't sell your curry puff today, you cannot keep for tomorrow. Whereas if you are selling other things like something that is non-perishable, then you don't sell today, you can sell tomorrow. So there are many different factors that in class, sometimes the students don't comprehend. But when you bring them to the mama store, you sit down, you see, student, if I make dal 5 liters today, example, I keep it up there in the room temperature, all right, and I only use 2 liters. What happened to the other 3 liters? Can use for tomorrow or not? The students may think, maybe cannot, sir. If rosak, how? So what kind of management do we do? How do we stagger our portioning? Do we use technology? Continuous improvement. Okay? So by Spady, just this is a continuation of what these are the OBE principles by Spady. Earlier on, we have the 3 key aspects over there. So Spady, clarity of focus. This means that everything teachers do must be clearly focused. According to Spady, there must be clarity of focus. What teachers do, clearly focus and must have outcomes. Okay, and then design down, it means that the curriculum design must start with a clear definition of the intended outcomes. When you do your curriculum, there must be clear outcomes over there. High expectation, it means that the teacher should establish high challenging standards. You put your standards there, what students must achieve. So students will strive to achieve that. And expanded opportunities, teachers must strive to provide expanding opportunities for all students. The principle is based on the idea that not every learner can learn at the same time. So expanded opportunities is we want to give opportunities to students to learn. So we understand that many of them come from different environments and systems. So they will then achieve their goal in numerous different ways. Okay? So, we have already gone 45 minutes. I'm going to give you a 5-minute break. Go and get a drink and we will come back and continue. All right? All right, guys? Pergi dulu. 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, welcome back. It's 10 to 10, 5 minutes short break. It's done. So to continue with where we stopped off earlier on, we were looking at OBE principles by Spady. So these are the key things. So in summary, on that part over there, on the theoretical part, OBE requisites states that what the students learn must be clearly identified. So the students need to know what they're supposed to achieve. So that is actually very much in our documents. It's called the course learning outcome lah, at our level. We're talking about the course level. All right. Then the students' progress is based on demonstrative achievement. So when we talk about OBE over here, students need to show evidence on their achievement. At the current stage, the evidence that the student does will be our summative assessments. Our summative assessments is such that their midterm exam, their final exam, those are evidence-based. So what it means here is there must be a method or an avenue for evidence to be attained. So there must be certain things for the student to demonstrate to us that they have achieved. Okay. It cannot be just say that, all right, I have taught the students marketing for 15 weeks, let's say 15 weeks, and each week I do 5 hours. So I 75 hours. So students is already good in marketing. Tak boleh. It doesn't work that way. All right. It's like this. I give you an example. When you go and watch a movie, all right, if you follow this evidence, this requisite over here, the student's progress is based on demonstrated achievement. Let's say all of us go and watch a movie and we go and watch The Sound of Music. Okay, so when we watch The Sound of Music, all of us, all 11 of us, the 10 of you plus me, 11, and after that we come out from the cinema. There must be a way. How do we determine whether we understood the movie or not? What way do we do? So there must be certain evidence. Going to watch the movie and coming out does not mean we understand, or does not mean we have absorbed. It doesn't mean that we have comprehended. No. So there must be a way. So it could be a 150 words, 200 word essay about the key points or the key areas or junctures during the movie itself. So you write, what are the main challenges, this and that, what kind of things, and so on. So there must be a way to evaluate students' achievement. Okay, now, in the practical sense, it's very easy. Let's say I'm teaching pastry. The evidence is when students can make the cake lah. But if you are teaching things such as like marketing, then it needs to be how? If it's marketing, just the final exam alone may not be the best. That is why we have multiple assessments, multiple types of assessments. We have presentation, we got report, we got exam, and so on. So there are multiple types over there. All right, which comes to the second part. Multiple instruction and assessment strategies need to be available to meet the needs of each student. Okay, and finally, adequate time and assistance needs to be provided so that the students can reach the maximum potential. That is basic OBE prerequisites. Time, effort, students, different instructions, and whatnot. Now, so if you look at actual OBE practice, for students to achieve that goal, there can be many ways. So it could be multiple or different methods of assessments. It can be different methods of assessments. Okay, let's look at this general scenario. In our class, where most of our students are of the similar type of knowledge or similar type of ability, then we use exam. Now, we have to accept the fact that there are some of our students may have certain challenges in their life. All right. Okay, it could be learning difficulties, learning challenges, physical difficulties, physical challenges, or issues. All right. Now, these people also need to achieve their goal, correct or not? So it is not uncommon for us to give, like example, different time and assistance. Some of our students with learning challenges, sorry, I didn't want to do that quote over there wrong, are actually given more time for their exam. And that is all right, because that is one OBE requisite lah. Due to these individuals' challenges, we give not normally 2 hours, we give 2.5 hours. Okay, so that is what it is, difference. And also, sometimes the exam paper, we normally use 12 to 13 font. But we had case before on certain students, due to their physical challenges, we make the font 24 or 20. Yes. God, let me tell you that. Because that is what it is. So these are also part of OBE, outcomes-based practices. We don't see it that way, but it is. So we always take things in a way very clear-cut. This student comes in with a letter from a doctor to say blah, 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 and whatnot. Now, I'm going to put a caveat over there. This is not our practice. But if you really read into OBE itself, or you really read, you really study, you really understand, and you are a real champion of it, you will find that, let's say I'm teaching marketing, and my normal assessment is a final exam. If I'm a clear practitioner of OBE in my class, I may find that certain students can achieve their outcome may not be through exam. May not be through exam. Why? I read my course learning outcome. The course learning outcome did not say student must be able to articulate in an exam or be able to write in the correct. Like, no. Is students are able to demonstrate knowledge and ability in this particular concept. Currently, we use examination, but it could also be assessed in many different ways, a presentation and so on and whatnot. Why do we use exams? Exams have a very good control mechanism that is open to less scrutiny. That is why exams. But are exams the best method to evaluate outcomes, or is the best method for students demonstration? It may not be for certain disciplines, but it is the best. Why? It's a controlled environment. There'll be less questioning, there'll be less challenges, there will be less issues related to students say, sir, how come I do exam, the other student do presentation, do report? Why? But every individual different, ma. So this is very much being efficient and effective kind of method. That is why exams are used. Quite a few years ago, I was in one of the large medical schools in Malaysia. So I went there as partnership to actually speak to their teaching and learning center. Big one, this is a big one in Malaysia, private. You all may know lah. Anyway, so I was discussing with him, and I'll say, hey, both of us were OBE practitioners. So I asked him, so and so, how do you look into this method of replacing, or say methods of assessment to replace based on students' ability, yet achieve the same outcome? He said, yes, we are doing the same thing. We are actually in the process of trying to evaluate methods of that. All right. We are not saying that you reduce expectation of the student. No. The CLO is still the same, but different methods of assessment due to different kinds of students that are coming in. So we took some time to discuss that. So he said, oh, if it is very, let's say clinical work, they don't change. Needs to be practical. If you need to, students need to learn how to give an injection, that is what they will learn. You cannot say, oh, I'm scared of blood. I don't want to do injection. Can I do a report on injection? Cannot, because that is needed. That is the course learning, the outcome. You must do that. But there are certain things that doesn't need to be an exam. It could be a presentation and so on. So they were more advanced in their research, that institution. So they say, Gabe, the biggest challenge is not coming up with the system. It's getting it approved by the Senate. Getting it approved by the internal body itself. All right. Why? Because there is it when you do different assessment methods due to students' character, ability, even though we achieve the same CLO, it is always open for questioning. Why? Why the difference over there? And because it is not a science, it is so subjective, the evidence that you need to put in, the lecturer would die. You get it now, guys? You see, it's so difficult. You know, in your class, these two students are brilliant students, very good, can really articulate. All right. But during exam, they just cannot write because it's not them. But your CLO doesn't require for them to write well, ma. You just want to show demonstration of that skill, ma. So you say, okay, 88 students will do exam, the other 2 students will do presentation. You want to justify that, banyak susah. How do you justify equality? How do you justify standard? How do you justify that this is done in the same way as that? All right, because it's general impression for people that a presentation is always easier than an exam, which is wrong. Which is wrong. For those of you who have done your proposal defense or so on, it's not. It's more nerve-wracking, right? Doing a presentation at times. All right. However, if you read OBE, OBE states multiple instruction and assessment strategies need to be available to meet the needs of each student. Correct. So in more progressive progressive countries, they are already doing that. They are already doing that. When I did my degree overseas, I mean, this was in 90s lah, okay? I still remember a classmate of mine actually had certain challenges, learning challenges. Intelligent fellow, very intelligent fellow, but he had certain what they call that, learning challenges. His assessment was different. His assessment was different. Did he score all A's? No. Clever fellow, but his assessment was different because the university allowed for that. The university managed to justify for that. I just hope that we will reach a stage that we can recognize that individuals, students are all unique, are all different. All right. Maybe during that time I should have pension lah. Okay. Now, focus on outcomes. When you talk about OBE, the key focus here will be on outcomes. So when you talk about the focus on outcomes, it will be driven by curriculum design and assessment. So we look at curriculum design, we're looking at assessment. Assessment is what we want to evaluate to ensure that the curriculum is being achieved. All right. Assessment is just a tool, guys. Why we do assessment? We do assessment to ensure that we can quantify that students have achieved our CRO. And how do we get ready the student to do a good assessment? Teaching and learning. Teaching and learning. So teaching and learning is just a process. You see, process to ensure that students achieve their goal. And what tool do we use to assess this? We use an assessment. So the assessment is a measuring tool. It's like a ruler lah. Ayah. Hold on. Hi, Magesh. Hey, Magesh, can I call you later? I'm doing a training at the moment. Yes, can. No problem. Oh, can. The nursing, which floor is it? Nursing? Fifth floor. Okay, all right. I will see you. Okay, bye. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so you see assessment. So the assessment is just a measurement tool, measuring tool, similar like a ruler. So we want to make sure that it is fair, it is equitable in such that at the end of the day, if a person is at that gauge, it is there. All right. So it must be a very accurate tool over there. Okay. Now, so what is the relevance of OBE itself for the rating accreditation requirements, quality assurance audit by the Ministry of Education, Malaysia's quality framework, MQF, the emphasis is on learning outcomes. So when we talk about MQF, Malaysia's qualifications framework, there is this thing about the outcomes itself. We also understand in Malaysia, outcomes are critical. Accreditation requirements for professional programs or professional bodies emphasize learning outcomes. So for those of you in engineering school, cannot run away lah. Okay, engineering board, nursing board, everything is outcomes. All right, what can the student actually do? What can they actually do? What can they actually demonstrate? How do you prove that they have achieved that demonstration, that achievement? That's why I said that. Okay, so what are real benefits of OBE? More directed and coherent curriculum. So if you have OBE, your curriculum becomes very directed and coherent. All right, it becomes relevant. All right, because your curriculum will be structured in a way that this is what the students must learn for them to be competent when they graduate. So you put things in for them to be competent when they graduate. That is what it is. So if you put things in for them to be competent when they graduate, so when they graduate today and when they graduate 5 years down the road, it is going to be very different on what is needed. So automatically it should drive in your mind already that curriculum will never stay the same. Curriculum will always change. Because curriculum changes based on the demands of the industry, depends on the student when they graduate. That is why every year when your school does curriculum review or program reviews and so on, it is a very, 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 very important activity. Very important. You must do curriculum review every year. Okay, you must do one. Okay, because that is driven. Now, does it mean you have to change everything? No, tak payah. Sometimes year by year, maybe just book a little bit, this chapter changed, make it more relevant and so on. The general structure or what you call the learning content, most of the time do not change much. Unless there is a shake in the industry. There is a shake in the industry. Then it changed much lah. I give you an example. KDU in the late 80s, early 90s, we were one of the biggest, most prominent institution in secretarial school, in secretarial learning, secretarial school, all right, one of the biggest. So when you want to do secretarial school, secretarial studies, which is a discipline, let me tell you that, to be a good office secretary, you come to KDU or you go to Stanford lah, or Olympia, big players. So, but then there was a shake in the industry. All right, what was the shake in the industry? Suddenly, technology starts coming in. A lot of things were done by individuals. Technology assisted us in doing things that normally we needed somebody else to do, like typing, letters and whatnot. Writing letters now got email ma. So the shake automatically shook the demand for this particular career itself, secretarial school. All right, so automatically after it actually died. After that, there was no demand. So stop lah. We stopped doing that. That is how it is because of what the industry needs or does not need. So in those circumstances, not only is there a change in curriculum, there was in a way no need for that particular discipline itself. That is how it is. Now, you ask ourselves, today, look at the careers that there is at the moment. Look at the schools that you're in. Look at your business school, engineering, blah, 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 and so on, dan lain lagi. Do you foresee anyone that will reach that stage as I gave you about the secretarial school like that? The sudden shake, boom, that is suddenly not needed. What do you think? Unmute yourself, guys. What do you think? Will there be any sector or industry that you feel will achieve that? Will not achieve, will reach that? What do you think, guys? Ada ke? Evelyn.
Gabriel, can rephrase the question one more time?
You remember I gave you the example about the secretarial school, right? Okay.
Correct.
So do you think that currently in our programs that we have, the current programs that we have, do you think that there is going to be one or a group of programs that will also die that route?
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry? Did somebody say something? Sheila, yes?
I'm still thinking.
Oh, can. No worries. Anybody you think? What do you think? Do you think not? Do you think it can happen? Do you think it can happen or not?
Can.
I think can. Yes, right. And let me tell you, for me, I think it's our line. I think education, no. I think education, no. Education of knowledge will eventually die. Because knowledge itself can be attained, but the training to learn won't die. Training to learn means giving the people the skill for them to attain that knowledge. That one will still be critical. But knowledge itself, the giving of knowledge itself, which teachers do, cikgu is give knowledge, that one will eventually die. Okay, with the dawn of, now we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, and so on. But this artificial intelligence, guys, how many of you remember the search engine Alta Vista, Netscape? Alta Vista used to be one of the first search engines, all right, before Yahoo. Oh, Chinkian, yes, old school, all right. This was before Yahoo, before Google, and then when it came out, people were thinking, "Wow, siok lah!" Every time now, I have everything already. When internet came out, one industry, people start to scratch their head. Oh my God, mati lah. It is called the encyclopedia salesman. Encyclopedia. Dulu you go, you salesman, or you knock on the house, and you knock on people's door. You want to buy Britannica Encyclopedia or not? You can pay by installment. I still remember when I was young. Yes, wow, Jihan, you're that old man. You know about this, All right. So basically, that was it. Then they died. So that is one sector died because of technology. So when we talk about artificial intelligence today, then we also had Alta Vista, then it evolved, okay? And look at it. Look at where we are, okay? ChatGPT coming up, okay? How Bing is introducing it into their search engine, how Google have another AI bot inside, which yesterday was a joke. Right now, if I know how many of you this morning watched BBC, or was it last night? I think last night I was watching news. Google launched their own chatbot in such a way that is integrated into their search engine, but the answer that came out during their promo was wrong. So their shares dropped 100 million just because of that. 100 million. All right. So now we see Microsoft as a search engine who normally many of us mengabaikan one. We don't even think about that. Google, I think, dominate 95%. Google literally dominates 95% of it. Now they may have a change in their business luck in a way because of the ability of AI itself. So this is what it is. So I feel that in education as teachers, traditional teachers will slowly evolve out. But facilitators to teach student, to educate student how to learn, how to attain correct information, how to differentiate information, how to differentiate. And from that, you make students good analytical individuals because knowledge itself, key knowledge is already in the market. You know, if I used to teach marketing human resources, let's take marketing. You want to teach students about what? Marketing mix, the 7 Ps. Everything's on the internet. And internet do it better than me. Why? They got video. And their video got cartoon one, Wow, so much more interesting than to see my face. All right. So that is it. But we will need students to be able to differentiate what is correct information, what is wrong information, what is legitimate information. That one, they may still need to learn. That is where that is thing that I feel still that is still important. Other than that, we need to evolve lah. We ourselves, our career, our industry, a bit dinosaur already. So we need to evolve evolve in that way. Okay. So now let me just go back there. Kacau ni. Okay. Sorry. Now, graduates will be more relevant to industry and other stakeholders. So if we have OBE, what the real benefits of it, the graduates will be more relevant, okay, to the industry because OBE is driven by the industry and continuous quality improvement, CQI, is an inevitable consequence. When you talk about one key benefit of OBE, it is CQI. Because for us to understand that students have achieved their outcome, we need to do continuous quality improvement. We need to improve. All right. We see sini they haven't achieved, then we do CQI. Haven't achieved, we do CQI, and so on. Okay. For those of you who play games, also same. Outcomes based. So for you to achieve, you want to jump over that ridge. Sometimes if those of you who play Mario or something like that, you need to jump. You need to go certain place. Many a times you will fail one. You jump, top, jatuh. You jump, top, jatuh. Then you calculate. How do I improve? CQI, continuous quality improvement. Then you calculate your steps. From there, I need to press jump 2 times. Jump, then I will go across. Because at the initial stage, you may fail. But then you improve by looking at the environment and what is the conditions over there. It is the same. Now, in us, it becomes second nature, We take it as second nature because being human beings, we adapt to situations. But in OBE, continuous quality improvement is something that I hope you all will what do you call that? Record it down. So if you do something in class, guys, you do in class. Oh, I changed this and that. Please write it in your program brief, or your what do you call that? Your program sheets lah, to say that this is already done. This is what I did. Normally lecture, but what I also did over here and so on. Because you do a lot of good things, but when you don't write it down, you tend to forget. So if you write it down, today's lecture, I added in this thing and so on, and students do it better. Next semester, you may be able to learn from it. Okay. So this is continuous quality improvement. And it actually does work over there. Okay. Okay, so OBE is an educational process. directed focus and achieving certain specific outcomes in terms of individual student learning. All right. Both structures and curricula are designed to achieve those capabilities or qualities, and educational structures and curriculum are regarded as means, not end. Okay, so the structure and the curriculum these are the means. Having a good curriculum doesn't mean you achieve your goal. No, it's just the means. It is just the peta, the map for you to achieve your goal. Because the goal is students need to understand this, needs to demonstrate that. How do we have it? A good structure and curriculum lah. In curriculum, we'll have your assessment, your teaching and learning, and so on. This is just a means. The end is not that. The end is students' achievement. So sometimes I feel we emphasize a lot on the means, all right? Okay, but the end itself, we tend to neglect. We tend to neglect whether students achieve it or not. Okay, not the summative one, but more of the progressive, the formative one. That is why it's very important. Okay, so OBE is a process that involves the restructuring of curriculum, assessment, and reporting practices in education to reflect the achievement of higher order learning and mastery rather than accumulation of course credits. So we need to go away from the aspect of we do this because we just want, these are course credits that the students need to get 3 credits, 4 credits. No, it is, what is important is the students need to achieve higher order learning. So they once they go through your course already, their knowledge and their understanding will be of a certain level. So this is the key aspect, because we want them to be relevant individuals in the future. Okay, amongst expected changes, when you do OBE, there are going to be some changes. This is where sometimes menakutkan practitioners lah. It scares practitioners. Number 1, curriculum restructuring and revision. Okay, so at times we need to revise. See, the thing about teachers is the teachers, when they have been teaching the same subject, they are very comfortable. They go in, they can speak about it continuously. All right. So sometimes they don't even change their textbook. They don't change their syllabus. They say it is still good. It is still important. It is still important. When you change your textbook, you change your syllabus, there's going to be a change in the way that you prepare and deliver. So curriculum restructuring revision is important. Innovative, flexible delivery methods. Okay, how you deliver is also going to impact. Okay, so when you talk about expected changes, the way you deliver, sometimes that is why. Now let me give you an example of why. Let me give you the reason why we decided 3 years ago to be a blended learning organization. Of course, Australia, our parent, was going on the same direction, and they encourage in a way, no, I won't say encourage lah, terpaksa lah, all the GE institutions to also look into blended, but we were a little bit more aggressive. All right, we said that, okay, guys, we will want to head towards 30%, minimum 30% of your course delivery on your course curriculum itself to be blended. The reason is because there is research, clear research to say that when you go to a more blended kind of system, you are giving autonomy to students to attain knowledge on their own. Autonomy means students' responsibility to attain knowledge on their own. And it is known that if you attain knowledge on your own, you tend to treasure, and the knowledge tends to linger and last more in you, and you can apply it differently. Because when you attain things on your own, during the process, you may make mistakes. When you make mistakes, you learn from it. Okay, so that is called self-attainment. So by doing so, we were hoping, now this is only a hope and wish, that students will be more matured in the way that they think, because that's what the industry wants. All right, they'll be more matured the way that they think and so on. That is where blended learning comes in. All right, so that is why I want to take the next few minutes to give you certain examples of what blended learning can be. When we talk about 30% of your course to be blended, what you can do is this. You can look at your course. Let's say you have 12 separate chapters. You can do the traditional in chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on. Chapter 3, for example, you put in the required readings, videos, everything online. All right. Then you tell students, today is Monday. This week, I want you to go and do your own work. No need to have class, no class, no physical class. Example, this is example 1, no class. You do your work, these are all the notes inside there already. But you need to send me your reflective essay by Friday, 4 p.m. By Friday, 4 p.m. So you have already put in your goal, the learning outcome for that week inside there. Monday you give, Friday is your due. Amy is one of your students. She is very hardworking, very hardworking. She sees your email Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Monday, her class is at 3. In the morning, she go to your notes, she go and do research, she study and do on. And then immediately after knowing already, she knows the knowledge, she writes a reflective essay. On Monday, by 12 o'clock, she replies to you. Dear sir, this is what I feel, blah, 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 blah. Monday, she has already achieved the learning outcome of that week. That is one method of blended, okay? Blended learning. There are so many methods. It can be flipped classroom and so on. Let's give you that one example. So what do we hope to gain from that? What do we hope to gain? We hope to gain that Amy, while doing that, she will meet with challenges. She will put initiative. She will do her own research. And by doing that, she will use different skills to attain that. Then the reflective essay that she writes to you. Now, is it going to be perfect? No, there may be mistakes. So when there are mistakes, she wrote certain things. You, as the facilitator, you will reply, Dear Amy, well done. Congratulations, you have done well. However, I feel that this basic concept over here, you have overlooked these key areas, which is something very important. You see? So she has put effort, but then she overlooked over that. Then when she reads your reply, she knows, oh, I could have done better there. So some lecturers will even require students to, very good, can you just edit and resend back to me? Example. All right. So that is one method. It could also mean not a reflective essay. It could be you can use Google Forms or whatever to do a multiple choice question. Finish the work that you self-reading already, students do multiple choice, and so on. Then you see the grade, then at least you know where the students understand or not. So formative feedback in that is many ways. So why do we do that kind of formative assessment and feedback? Is so that we will know students' progression, whether they achieve or not. Now, this method very good for the student. Like I gave you an example, the Petronas scholar. Remember I gave you an example of Petronas scholar earlier on. She will do it in day one. But our students, some of them may find it a bit of a difficulty or lack motivation, to a better word, in doing this. So this is where we need to encourage them, because blended learning, this kind of aspects requires students to put their initiative in. So some schools in UG, what they do, we have spoken to some of the lecturers. They say, Gabe, how are some of my students not motivated? Then you motivate them lah. What is the carrot? They say no marks, we don't do. Then put marks lah. Put marks. You can also make it as the reflective essays at 5 marks each. Also can motivate them in that. Okay, so the whole idea here is not the marks, it's not caning the student, it's for them, the outcome here is for them to be mature thinkers, to be creative, to be in a way analytical in the way that they think, because that is our outcome. Because if you remember our graduate attributes, guys, our graduate attributes also, many of the key aspects of our graduate attributes need students to be in that kind of mindset. Okay, all right. So varied of assessment and evaluation methods. So certain changes will be assessment and evaluation methods needs to change. Exam alone needs to evolve. All right, exam alone needs to evolve. Just 3 days ago, how many of you joined? I think it was Monday, if I'm not wrong. Monday morning, there was a workshop. Not workshop. There was like a forum like that with Australian and Canadian universities. This was actually open. I think corporate com sent to us. Then we could actually sign up. Were you there? Any of you? No? Anyway, the main discussion was on AI lah. The main discussion was on AI. All right. So the one thing that they said is this: we need to to accept AI, embrace AI, cannot run away. We don't in a way make it to tell students that you cannot use. No, we want students to be mature to understand what it does, and not everything is right. But one fear that they had was assessment, because a lot of these universities, Australian universities and so on, Australian, New Zealand, Canadian universities, those are the representative there, have switched a lot of their exam-based assessments or sit-down assessment to more assignment-based, more project-based, more case-based, more demonstration-based. Okay? So Chat GPT writes essay for you. So assignments, reports can be affected. So their fear, or not their fear, they say that because of this, some universities are jumping the wagon to say that, come, let's do exam back again. But the negative elements of exam may overshadow the fear that they have on Chat GPT. All right. For them, they have gone away from exams. They have gone away. Certain key ones that require exams still needs to do, they understand. But a lot of the other courses, they have already gone away. All right. So Chat GPT, because when you don't do exam, you do assignments and so on, that is the field, that's the avenue of Chat GPT, of AI. So that is why they say some universities have jumped back, which is no good. All right. So they say we have to embrace artificial intelligence, not fear artificial intelligence, and not put it to be the devil. It's bad, no good. No. During that time when Wikipedia came out also, guys, we as teachers, habis lah, students will copy lah. No, then eventually we learn. We use Wikipedia in class. I use Wikipedia in class, guys. Openly I use. I go inside, I search students, but I tell students like this. You see this article good, you read already, don't quote, you go down to the reference. Go down to the reference, then you find where the reference is. Then go to the actual source. Then read the actual source. Then quote the actual source. So for me, I use Wikipedia as like a précis or like a short, in a way, summary of the key points. Then we go to the reference at the bottom. Then we search from there. So students say, oh, that is how it is. That is how I use. I don't quote, I use Wikipedia, but I don't quote Wikipedia. I use Wikipedia as a tool for me, as a tool. So that is how we should use AI also. Okay. So collection of evidences. Okay. Among expected changes, more evidence needs to be there. It's going to be very evidence-based. Outcomes-based education is going to be very evidence-based. Where the evidence come in, you need to make sure it's there. And CQI, closing the loop, will be very important. Continuous quality improvement. So OBE process, how does it work? It starts off with planning. So when we talk about the process of OBE, curriculum, academic planning, so here we always start off with the PEO, program educational objectives, and then PEO will then drive program learning outcome over here. Now, as you know, PEO will be the what is required by the students when they graduate, and 5 years, 3 to 5 years down the road. Okay, so let's say I am developing a diploma today, which is 2023, and I expect to launch in 2024. Okay, so my first cohort in January 2024, the diploma students will graduate in 2024, 25, 20, 24, 25, 26. So I need to make sure my students are relevant with the skill from 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That is PEO. We don't PEO is not what is needed today, it's what's needed in the future. If we develop programs, that's what's needed today, no point. Okay, so then we have program learning outcomes. PEO drives PLO, which are the which are the 5 clusters or the 11 subclusters, which will drive your curriculum. And curriculum, we have course learning outcomes, CLO. Curriculum, each subject, each course learning outcome. Course learning outcome will be driven or will have an impact on teaching and learning activities and assessment. Okay, not all subjects are good for lectures, nor are all subjects or courses need practical classes. Okay, then this will then drive your students' learning time and your credit hours. Okay, so assessment is important for us to understand Bloom's taxonomy. Later we'll just touch a little bit about that. So in continuation over here, curriculum, here, so this is how it is, understand? Then we have implementing. After your curriculum is done already, your curriculum documenting and evidence are very important. So you need to know how students achieve their particular outcome. Here we have things such as test blueprint, lesson plan, marking scheme, and so on. This is part of the implementation. Okay, And then finally is the reporting. That is why we have the school assessment board, which will then eventually report to the UCAB, University College Assessment Board, and then the Senate will certify. So they evaluate, they close the loop, then with your feedback, you get, okay, this semester, this is what I did, what is the kebaikan, what is the keburukan, then following year, this is what I do to change accordingly. Okay, so this is the OBE process. OBE process is not driven by what you want to teach. It's not driven here. It's not driven here. It is actually driven here. But normally here, every semester, we don't change lah. PLO, we don't change. Okay? We don't change every semester. Nor CLO do we change every semester. All right. So this is something that we follow. But every end of the year, you need to do program review. So when you do program review if program changes, we change. Now, basically, program review should be done, will need to be done every year, but major changes every cycle. So if your degree is 3 years, every 3 years, there should be some bigger change lah. Okay, if there is no change at all, then you may want to question a little bit. Is the industry really stagnant? Really no change? Or are we just being complicit? We don't want to change. Why? Why don't want to change? Change susah. Change messy. Too much work to do. So no need to change lah. No need to change lah. Senang. Tutup mata. So that is how it is. Understand this, guys? So it starts off with here. Goes down, goes down, goes down, goes down, goes down. So every time when you do program review, guys, you need to look at the PEO and you always need to look at PEO. So end of the year, let's say many of your programs have been running for many years already, all right? Now, let's say the Bachelor of Business. They've been running for many years already. So at end of this year, 2023, when you do your program review, you all should sit down, the program leaders and the ADH should sit down and say, all right, guys, let's look at our Bachelor of Business. Let's look at the PEOs. Is it still relevant? Is it still relevant? Because you may be amazed. The Bachelor of Business was done in 2015, for example, and the PEO was for 2015. And when the PEO was designed in 2015, it was to ready students for to work in the business field in 2019. So that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So things changed already. So you need to look at that lah. So if you evaluate PEOs and you find that it's still the same lah, Gabe, there's no change, fine, no problem. So if PEOs are still the same, we look into the PLOs. No change, right? No change lah. Still the same lah. These are the things which currently still need. So your industry quite stagnant lah. So you're lucky lah. All right. Then after that, you go to your CLOs. Then you go to your curriculum. Then you look into your individual CLOs itself. If PLO normally don't change, then CLO will normally only change if there is just updates. But there will be no drastic change lah, because PLO don't change. You see, that is how it is. But I can foresee in the past few years, it has really impacted us. These things will change. These things will change. And also, it will change because your industry IAP will tell you, industry advisory panel, they will tell you, oh, now business, we want people that can do programming. If all your industry partners tell you, we need students to know basic programming, for example, and then you read journals, they say that business graduates need basic programming. Basic programming will be the main language for the future of business education. And you don't change, that means you are not doing justice to the student. Because the market rate tells you we need to do that. And you don't change. You just what the only. Who suffer? Students suffer. Your student graduate already go out to the industry and the industry don't hire them. Say, why? You don't have basic programming. I don't want you. Because that is what we need. Habis, they cannot find job. That is why it needs to be evaluated constantly. Okay, so that is OBE lah, outcomes based lah. With this is the process. So it starts from here and it goes down. All right, guys, can? So, okay, I'll just skip that because I think this is basically the learning domains. Now we have this. I want to show this. These are the 5 clusters of learning outcomes. The 5 clusters replaces the 8 MQF domains. So in MQF 2.0, which is 2017, 2018, I think so. I can't remember. They changed the 8 MQF domains to the 5 clusters. Previously, the the domains were knowledge, practical skill, social skill, blah, 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 and so on. Ethics, communication, scientific, lifelong, and whatnot. So there is a change. So they change it to the 5 clusters where they put digital and numeracy skills. separate. All right. So they find that this is important. Previously, they may not have digital and numeracy. All right. So why? Because the market changes. And then they have interpersonal and communication skills. Communication and interpersonal. Interpersonal is people skills. Communication is getting your knowledge through. Okay, getting your ideas through. So these are the changes that they actually put in. And ethics as a standalone. Okay, because why? This is what the market wants lah. So generally, if you look into these 5 clusters, compared to these 8 traditional domains, dia lebih kurang sama one. But they have changed the wording based on the market demands. So these 5 clusters, you see, these 5 clusters here was developed in 2017-18 in MQF 2.0. As I told you, I foresee a change coming very soon, coming very soon. So if you look at it, after the COVID, what else is more important? Maybe maybe they will want to emphasize certain key aspects on people being resilient. So if it's being resilient, being able to overcome challenges and so on, where will you put that? It's just personal. So maybe personal and entrepreneurship, they may want to split it. You see where am I going? That is what they do. This is what MQA does. Okay, why? They want to, now it is shared. They say, oh, penting, tapi personal and entrepreneurship lah, dua lah. Okay, for example. But maybe they may want to split it as 2 key aspects to grow on that. So this is how it is seen. This is how it is seen. Okay. So as what I stressed earlier on, PEO, 4 to 5 statements of what the graduates are in 4 to 5 years' time, must include learning outcomes or the 5 clusters in the statement. All right. Now, the objectives are not directly measured, but serve as an aim of what graduates will be many years after graduation. So PEOs are not immediate. It is what they need after they graduate. So that is something that needs for us to understand. Okay, can I just ask the crowd over here, the 12 or 13 of you, when you all do your program review or your curriculum review, do you all touch to the PEO level? Do you all discuss from the PEO level or straight away course level, subject level? Guys, anybody? PLs, course leaders?
Normally we go straight to the course level lah, but for PEO, not every year, maybe every but every skip 1 year, maybe once every 2 years lah.
Once every 2 years,
because sometimes the time frame also, then the time frame lah, so that's why maybe once every 2 years like that.
Okay. My advice is every year you all still do. That doesn't mean you all change lah, because sometimes your staff needs to understand why are they still doing that. Because sometimes the staff we want to say, hey, your staff will say, hey, this syllabus, we no need to do this. Why are we doing this? So it's important to go back to the PEO. See, this is what is still needed. So that is why this particular thing still needs to be taught lah. Okay, so that is important. So every time you do a curriculum review, because you have what you call your curriculum task force. So example, Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Hospitality, you have your task force. Okay, then from there you should already look, okay, Bachelor of Hospitality, what is our PEO? And that is our PEO over there, program educational objectives. Still relevant or not? Okay, still okay. Then after that you go on. So it still needs to start from there, because I always believe we need to constantly remind our colleagues about the PEOs. Many a times the lecturers are very micro, they look at their subject, but they need to understand that their course is actually part of a bigger ecosystem, which is the program. So that course itself, and that program is driven by the PEO. So it's good for them to see the whole picture lah. Okay. So different levels of learning outcomes. So it's program educational objective, PEO first. PEO drives PLO. PLO drives CLO. CLO drives LLO. I normally call it LLO, lesson learning outcome lah. Okay, so or weekly topic outcomes and so on. Okay, so this is how it is. This is actually taken directly from the ministry side. So I like it. PEO, PLO, PLO, CLO. And then here there is lesson learning outcome lah, normally inside here. So it's the other way around. So when you evaluate, you analyze, CQI, always constantly quality improvement. Now, the PEO, where do we get feedback from PEO? You see, this is not what I say. This is what also required. Alumni need to give us feedback. Our organization's mission and vision, our stakeholders and penasihat industry. Stakeholders are people that are directly involved. Lecturers are stakeholders. Lecturers got a big say because you guys are subject expert. Industry, not only penasihat industry, those that hire the student, those are the stakeholders also. So any elements, any individuals that have a direct impact to our graduates, these are the stakeholders, and they are the one that impact the PEO. They are the one that will have a say in the PEO itself, because they are the one that will have an impact when they hire our students. So PLO and CLO. Okay. So basically, when we talk about OBE's general flow itself, this is how it is. So you need to understand that outcomes based is at the end of the day, what can student demonstrate? So student needs to demonstrate at the end of the day to achieve this, not this only. The CLO that you teach in your subject, you achieve is only one part. So when you achieve yours, every one of your colleagues achieve theirs, students will achieve the program and eventually will achieve their program educational objective. This is the one that is critical. This is the one that will make them get the job. They will get the job there because they are relevant to the industry. They are relevant. Okay? All right. So next will be learning domains. It's the same thing. I will give you all another 5-minute break. Please take 5 minutes and we will come back and continue. Okay? It is 10:42, 10:41. Hi. Are you back?
Yes.
It's freezing cold over here. This room is like,
Oh, it's cold here too.
yeah. Oh, is it? Mine is because the aircon here memang power punya sini. This office here. That's why every 45 minutes, 1 hour need to run to toilet. Hai, hai, hai. Okay, kalau dah. Sejuk-sejuk. Baik jugalah. Okay. Okay. So now we are going to touch a little bit on the learning domains. Yeah, this one learning domains you all pro already lah. I know this one. So I'll just run through a little bit. So we know this gentleman Benjamin Bloom. He came out with this taxonomy of learning domains. So they are basically based on academic pedagogy. There are these three key ones that will be effective for the heart, cognitive, mind, and psychomotor, your hands lah. Okay, so basically in the general aspects of learning, let's look at Malaysian's context. They say that these three will be critical for students' development. So we cannot just concentrate on the cognitive side. We concentrate on the learning. No, 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 no. There must also be the psychomotor and affective side also. So affective side will be how students relate to other people, how students accept other people's feelings and whatnot. Whereas the psychomotor one is the usage of, in a way, skills that will impact us in the way that we do things. So suddenly people think, Gabe, my course got no requirement for practical skill. Go to the kitchen or don't have. How? Psychomotor, a good example of psychomotor is also like driving. Okay, drive. From point A to point B, let's say this is the first time you are in your location and you go to work X location. So the first time you drive, you normally concentrate, you normally see where you're going, you normally follow a map. The second day that you go, you improve and it goes on. This is psychomotor skill. This is psychomotor skill, no, guys. As simple as that. So when you talk about even in business school or whatever, where does psychomotor skill come in? Sometimes it can be through presentations. How they plan for their presentation, how they come out and portray, and they also come out to be able to have a very efficient, if not effective presentation that they do. That is also part of psychomotor skill. It does not need to be directly related to practical skill, like example, cutting in the kitchen and so on. However, those in the field of culinary, psychomotor will be quite high lah, because that is what they do quite highly over there. All right. So that is how it engages. Now, must all of these three here be equal in percentage? No, it does not mean it has to be that. All right. It doesn't have to be that. When we look at certain disciplines may emphasize more on the cognitive side, but maybe less on the psychomotor side. However, there is still a requirement to touch on psychomotor. You cannot neglect it itself. All right, you cannot neglect the general aspects itself. Like if you take medicine itself, all right, cognitive, you to be a medical practitioner, cognitive definitely. You also need psychomotor when you need to giving injections is psychomotor skill. Psychomotor skill lah, that one lah. It's not thinking skill ma. It is practice psychomotor. And effective heart also. If you are a medical practitioner, there must be that humane aspect into what you do also. So example. So that is where effective comes in also. So look at that. All three of them will be directly related. Okay. So Bloom's taxonomy refers to a classification of different objectives that educators set for students. Okay. So what is this? This division will be affective, psychomotor, and cognitive lah. All right. With the taxonomy, learning at the higher level is dependent on having attained prerequisite knowledge and skills at lower level. All right. Now, so basically, based on Bloom's taxonomy, for you to achieve cognitive 3, you need to achieve cognitive 1 and 2 first. So let's put it into simple terms. So if we do Bloom's taxonomy level 1 to level 6, I will just categorize them as 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. So 1 and 2 is just knowledge. You know your concepts. 3 and 4 is apply the concepts. 5 and 6 is create new, synthesizing, come up with something new. So that is at a much higher level. All right. So when we look into that, what they say is this: for you, before you can apply something, before you can apply, you need to know what is it lah. Before you can apply the cream medicine, let's say your hand is itchy, you want to apply, you need to know what is the cream for, right? You don't simply just take anything and start applying. You need to know what the cream is for. So that is called knowledge. That is why it is still critical for us to make sure students have knowledge. How they get knowledge is different. They can get knowledge on their own, but we make sure they have the knowledge. How do we get it? How do they get it can differ. It can be taught to them, or it can be for them to attain it on their own. Now, what is knowledge? Knowledge are all the must-knows in a course. Now, for me, I've been teaching marketing as I've explained. I won't use marketing as an example. I used to teach risk management also. Risk management for events management. So under risk management, there are certain key knowledge. You may read the chapter tebal. Okay. Wow, this and that. After you read already, you analyze. Actually, the must know only 3 things. The whole chapter memang panjang, but the must know, perlu ditahu, is only 3 things. That is what makes the chapter the chapter. A lot of things in that chapter is explanation, further elaboration to the knowledge. One thing, then they will teach you, like example, under risk management, you do risk assessment, for example. When you do risk assessment, you do one key thing is what do you assess? You don't only assess the event, you assess whether this, that, and so on and whatnot. So the main thing is risk assessment, the must know. Then it mencabang, and so on. Okay, so all the must knows are the knowledge aspects over there. Okay, so this is what is critical. The elaboration, those are the good to know. They are the good to know. So it is critical that students know all the must know. Once you know the must know, only can you do the application. If you do not know what is risk management, risk evaluation, you do not know the tools to do it, then you cannot apply it. So they must have that. Then only they can apply. Then for us, we want to evaluate them in that manner. Okay, so now normally at lower levels of students learning curve, that means if we are looking at now in Malaysia under the MQF, there is tahap 1 hingga tahap 8. Tahap 1, 2 dan 3, level 1, 2, 3 is called certificate. Level 4 is called diploma. 5 higher diploma, 6 degree, 7 masters, 8 PhD. Okay, so this is the level. The lower you are, the more knowledge related your study is going to be. Okay, so it's like that lah. So the graph is this way, knowledge. So the level is the other way around. The graph is this way. When you're level low, more knowledge. The higher you go, the less knowledge that is need to be taught, because it is a fact that you should know. You should know. You should know already. All right. Now, going to masters, for those of you who teach MBA classes, I don't think you're going to teach the marketing mix. I don't think you're going to teach Porter's 5 forces. They should know already. Michael Porter's 5 forces and all this should be already second nature in students who are doing MBA. This is the must know that they know in degree, they should know already. So you won't teach. So in your class, you say, okay, students, I want you to analyze the competitiveness of this particular industry in this area. So the students should now use the tool that they learned before, which is Porter's 5 forces. You no need to tell them, students, use Porter's 5 forces, for example, because it's already known. So this is based on how the whole level it is. So that is why the higher they go, the different levels or in the educational level, if they are a level 6 or 7, then we are looking at more application and also synthesis. Now, it doesn't mean that low-level students cannot apply. Yes, it does. They can. But we are not going to put low-level certificate student. You give them an exam, 80% application. No lah, cannot lah like that. The emphasis is still on knowledge over there. Understand? So this is how it is. This is basically what does Bloom's taxonomy actually say. Now, this general term over here is always open to debate. I'm not going to talk about that. The more you read about Bloom's taxonomy, some people say that, hey, this is No lah, it doesn't mean you need to know knowledge to do this, you need to synthesize. No, 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 it may not be. What about people who just came up with something totally new, something total that wasn't invented before? There was no reference to, they created it. How? So basically, as we evolve, there is going to be more questioning lah. Education is like that lah. The more you read, the more they question. But basically, this will still hold firm for majority of learning. Okay, this will still hold firm. All right. Now, a goal of Bloom's taxonomy is to motivate educators to focus on all three domains, creating a more holistic form of education. Yes, this is why it is it. The key word here is holistic. Now, holistic, which we do not want people who only can think very well, very clever, CGPA 4.0, but after they graduate, they come out, they go and rob bank. They go and cheat people. Because we didn't teach them to be good individuals. Nor do we want to just to teach people to be good individuals, but atas sini kosong. So problem also lah. So that is why there must be that balance over there. There must be that balance. Okay. And if you look at to the 5 clusters, this time ethics, they emphasize so much on ethics. You just look over in Malaysia, the big criminal cases, they're all a lot on these white collar cases. All right. Things to do with money, things to do with corruption,
Hello.
and so on. Yep. I heard that hello, or was I dreaming? Okay. Anyway, so basically, that is how it is, guys. That is why when you look into Bloom's taxonomy, there are these 3 aspects. So the author, not me, this was I actually got it, he puts it 3H: head, heart, and hand. Head, heart, and hand. So when you look into the 5 clusters of learning, these domains here, and I just put the C's inside, and the P's and the A's, you will see. Knowledge and understanding, cognitive lah. Cognitive skill, cognitive lah, of course. Then we have practical skill, P, psychomotor lah. Then we have interpersonal, affective, communication, affective, digital, debatable, depending on which discipline. It can be CAP. So we leave that out. Numeracy skill, cognitive, leadership, autonomy, affective, personal and entrepreneurial, these are separated. Okay, affective. Ethics and professionalism, affective. 1, 2, 3, 4, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. That's actually 11 subclusters. Now you look at it, guys. Cognitive, 1, 2, 3. I don't count the bottom one here. So it's 10. 1, 2, 3. Affective, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a lot of emphasis on affective, Affective, if you look at our 5 clusters, is something that they really, really put focus, because this is a critical thing that a lot of organizations want. Okay, very, very, very critical. Okay, so when we look into this, it is important for us to understand when we teach class now, with that, our courses are very much cognitive. We concentrate a lot on the cognitive aspects, Okay, student do this, that. But in reality, MQA, when they look at the development of the MQF domains, they say that effective is very important. So they put kebanyakan, majority of the key points as effective, because cognitive is a given. Now, it doesn't mean that 50% of what we do in class must be effective. No, but they put 50%, at least 50% of the key points or the key areas to be based on effective, because they find being a person, these soft skills are as important as what many universities concentrate on, which is just the cognitive side. Okay, so this is how it is. Now, when you look into our partners like UOW, the way that they run their programs, of course, they are teaching. That means they're giving education. But based on the discussions that I have with them, or sometimes in the meetings that I join, I always see that when they do things, there is always a very human element into doing things, right? Into human element. Things such as like every time when you have meetings or forums with the Australians, they will always start off the first few statements in recognition, right? We start off by recognizing the natives of our land who was here and this and that. See, they want to create a society that is, of course, concentrating on knowledge and skills, but also care for people, care for the environment, respect, Now, are we there yet? I mean, we should eventually, but maybe not there yet. We are on the pathway. But if you just look at the C's and the P's and the A's over here, it already clearly tells you our government is on the right track. As I told many of my colleagues, you read MQA documents, actually they're quite good one, you know. You read the MQF 2.2, semua ada punya. Whether they apply it or not is a different story lah. Whether the individuals who come and do audit understands or not is a different story lah. So that is how it is. Okay. So the learning outcomes, this was the the CLOs. These are the basic clusters, and then over here cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, higher, lower level. So lower level knowledge, knowledge comprehension, responding, receiving, set, perception, and so on lah. Okay, so from lower level, you need to achieve lower level before you go on to higher level. Okay, so what level of learning should the subjects offer or the courses offer? All right, now on this is just basic understanding. Now, Bloom's taxonomy of learning, cognitive, affective, psychomotor. So for diploma, we should go until maybe C3, P4, A3. That means the curve should be in that area lah. C3, P4, A3. C3 will be roughly around the high of the application part, knowledge application. Yeah, this to touch lah, high. Okay. Now, you can also touch it. C5, C6, a little bit on synthesis, but majority will be C3, C4. Undergraduate until C4 majority, kebanyakan, but you can also touch C5. Master C5 and then PhD C6. Now, this does not refer to the maximum, neither to the minimum. We're not saying this is the maximum minimum, but we just want to show that, see, diploma lower, then PhD should be higher. PhD or at doctorate level shouldn't have questions such as like, explain explain the Porter's 5 forces. No lah, they cannot. That is too low for a doctorate level already. It's too low already. Okay, even master's level should not even have that explain part over there lah. Okay. So when we talk about what then, once we already understand this Bloom's taxonomy and the tree that we have over there, now then it's important for us to look into what's the relationship between design, delivery, and assessment. All right. So when we look into the PLO, which drives the CLO, then we have these two key aspects over here: instruction, teaching and learning instruction, and of course the assessment part, how the students will be assessed. So students are in the middle inside here. So what this one wants to show over here is these are all interrelated. All right, assessment and instruction are very closely related over here, interrelated. And how this one, CLO, assessment and instruction, comes in and out. Okay, so it's always a continuous feedback loop. All right, so your CLO is there. This is what you want to achieve. This is the instruction you give. And if the instruction is not so effective, you refer back to your CLO. Once you refer back, it will then adjust back your instructional methods and also the assessment. Because at the end of the day, the assessment must clearly reflect students' achievement of the CLO. And these two needs to be very clear. All right. You don't instruct the students on exam, teach them how to write, and the assessment is presentation. They die. Okay, they die. So always understand that this needs to work together. Okay, needs to work hand in hand together. Okay, so your assessment needs to directly reflect through your instruction and also relate to the course learning outcome. All right, so the course learning outcome is critical. The CLOs are critical over there that will drive the assessment. That is why when, if you remember what Dr. Horn pushed out in the past few years, say, guys, evaluate your assessment. If it is not relevant, change your assessment. Go to table 4 and change. Table 4, change your assessment method to something that is more relevant. If it means no exam, it's no exam because it is based on the learning outcome. This, what if the student needs to do things that is not exam related, then by all means, don't just choose exam. And some schools have a predicament in such a way that, but then our program standards state this over there. How? So that is why there's sometimes that mismatch element over there lah. Okay. So as this little cartoon that I like to put out here, so let's picture this. This guy, this gentleman is telling different animals here on assessment. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. You see? So to be fair, that is what is the keburukan for exam lah. So she said, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. So please climb that tree. So out of this, we have a seal, we have a fish, we have a penguin, we have a fox, we have an elephant, and we have a monkey and a bird. Who do you think will do well? Goes without saying lah. All right, maybe the one that will succeed, the one who will do the best will be the monkey. Then maybe the fox will be fine. But then the fish will definitely fail. All right, because of the assessment method that is not effective. All right, the assessment method that was not selected properly for that particular learning outcome. Okay, so this is how it is. This is why it is important for us to work in tandem, the instruction with the assessment with the course learning outcome over there. Okay, and can we change? And we can change. Everything can change, needs justification. You don't change for the sake of changing. So very easy one. Sometimes our colleagues are worried. Okay, we change already after audit. Audit is we control. Internal audit, whatever we change, asalkan we got trail, it is okay. So when MQA comes and then they say, hey, kenapa you all tukar? Then you justify lah. We change because this is the outcome that we need the students to achieve based on our PEO, PLO, and also CLO. And our industry advisory panel also looks at it and find that it is fair and it is correct because this is what the skills that they need for the students in the industry. Okay, so that is how it is. And it goes both ways. It goes both ways. It doesn't mean all exams will need to be assignments. Certain subjects, courses, memang need exam. If memang need exam, then it is exam. You don't throw it away. Don't take away for the sake of taking it away. Exam is needed, is needed. But if it is not needed, you want to change, feel free to change. In your panel. Your panel is important. All right? Your panel is important. So next, we are going to touch upon the assessment aspect. In general, serves the purpose. Why do we have assessment? Okay. Yeah. So assessments actually promotes learning. When students know that they're going to be assessed, how they'll be assessed, it promotes the way that they learn. All right, it promotes. Now, if driving tests in Malaysia, get your license, does not require you to have practical tests, just book tests. You know what's going to happen? Students will just read the book. They won't even practice. So even though you have practice, they won't go. They will just read the book. They will just study, regurgitate everything out. But when they drive, you see what's going to happen. All right. So the assessment itself is a very critical element in determining or in pushing the way that the students learn. That is why I try my very best. Every time when I teach, I go into this class, our first lesson, when we give the lesson plan, we tell the student, you'll be assessed through this. Tests, got midterm, for example, then assignment, individual and group, for example, then final exam. All right. I also explain to the student, because of your level, your exam questions will be divided this way. Knowledge will be 40%. Application will be 60%. Example. Then I explain to them, you know what is knowledge, students? Knowledge is all the theory. So example, my questions will always ask you, explain this. Then after that, after explain already, by using this, apply to this situation. Then I will explain to them why is this important. So that I want to test you, not only do you understand, but can you use it in a situation. So this is what you tell the student. This is what you tell the student. I go through like that one. So I tell the student, so you understand? Then I also explain to the student what are the action verbs that I will use. Seriously, a lot of students don't know action verbs one, Action verbs are the first word that we use in our question. Define, explain, elaborate, compare, and so on. All right. So I explain to them, what does explain mean? What does list mean? What does elaborate? And so on. So it promotes that learning in the student. Oh, macam itu. So I tell student, if they require you to list and explain, for example, and you just list, you don't get full marks. You only get that 1 mark only. If the list part is there. Oh, like that. So it promotes learning in a way and understanding. Okay. So assessment also measures performance. If assessment is done properly, it should be done properly, then it should measure the performance of the students. A student that gets an A, a B, or a C is clear definition or clear explanation of where the student is. An A student, B, or C. Okay, so it is. By awarding grades which indicate whether and how well a particular student has attained the stated learning outcomes. So when you award a grade, that is the learning outcome. That means you know that the student has achieved. Currently, all of us use the OBE sheet. The OBE sheet is not a perfect sheet, but it is a good sheet that actually determines where the student, what is the achievement of our course learning outcomes. Okay, so at least after doing assessment already, you can see, actually my student, this part, they're still weak. My student very strong in this part. Okay, determine whether a particular student is sufficiently well prepared in a subject area to proceed to the next level of instruction. Some of these courses, they have what I call prerequisite. That is why we have prerequisite. If a student don't meet the prerequisite, they don't go forward to the next level. So what is a prerequisite? A prerequisite states that student must have basic knowledge before they can proceed. So when they go on to the next course, normally the lecturer will not touch anything that was from the previous. Maybe the first lesson, half of the first lesson, just to say terminologies, what are the key things over there. After that, no need really. That is called a prerequisite. So a good assessment in the prerequisite actually tells the lecturer or the facilitator where the student stands. Provide feedback to student, which indicates level of attainment, and diagnose misunderstandings and learning difficulties. Yes, so an assessment gives feedback to the student, whether they, what level are they, where are they. Now, when I talk assessment, when I say assessment, there can be formative and summative. As I explained earlier on, summative impacts the final grade. Formative doesn't. Formative is to guide the student to achieve their goal. That is formative. So we do formative every day, you know. Actually, normally when I do physical trainings, I see the faces of my colleagues, that all of you, and then I can see that is formative feedback to me already. I can see your facial expression, whether you understand or you don't understand. So providing feedback is very important for the understanding. All right. So in this case with you at the moment, because the videos are not switched on, so I would normally ask you, do you understand? Any questions? Anything? And so on. So that is more, I'm doing an assessment in that way, a very spontaneous assessment, and the feedback that I get will determine the way that I deliver. Okay, and provide feedback to teaching staff to identify and diagnose ineffective teaching methods or techniques. So the assessment that comes back will also be an eye-opener for us as teaching staff. So we will diagnose, effective or not effective. This year, what I do, boleh pakai ke tak boleh pakai? If no good, next year I don't do the same thing. Next year I will do something else. That is why good assessment or assessment is very, very, very important. Very important. Okay, that's why. That is why assessment is something that we cannot jump to it, no, just simply do something. Student do this can already lah. There must be thought put into it. Now, how do we actually set a proper assessment for our student? Okay, so as you can see, what to assess. So when we talk about cluster, let's say knowledge and understanding, so it's normally written test and quiz law. So a practical skill demonstration law, interpersonal skill presentation or group work law, communication skill presentation. So if you want, how do you want to, if you want to evaluate communication skill, verbal communication skill, you cannot do written, no, written cannot. But written communication skill can, written, draft letter, write a letter, something which students don't really do anymore already. But that can also be communication skills. Yes, if it is written, if you're testing written. So there are many, many different ways of doing assessment. Okay. Now, some of us may say, easier to do presentation, easier to do a project, and so on. Now, presentation and project sounds easy, but when you grade them, it is open to more scrutiny. Okay, what makes A's presentation worse than B's presentation? Okay, it can be quite difficult. Okay, even though with a good rubric, because the way people deliver, people's behavior, people's aspect can be different. My clarity, my acceptance of clarity and your acceptance of what clarity is can be different. Student speaks and I give a B for clarity. You put an A for clarity. But clarity there says A, excellent, B, average, C, horrible. Let's say the simple rubric. For me, I find that it's average, but for you, may think it's very good. So that can be a bit of a challenge. Whereas exams are different. No? That is why a lot of people jump to written quiz and exam. Exams are clear cut. I need these points. If the points are not there, they don't get marks. That is why exams hard to do. You need to set, you need to mark, but it's easy to justify, easier to justify. Quiz, what they call that, presentations and so on, that are more difficult. That is why we get a lot of headaches on group works. Student group work not happy with this, that guy never put in effort. Then the guy said, I put in effort, I do a lot of work. Then the friend say, no lah, you do not enough. Who to believe? What is enough or not enough? What is the justification of yes or no? Difficult. So when we talk about assessments, that can also be challenges over there. Okay, in outcome-based assessment, so when we do OBE, outcome-based education, there is, of course, outcome-based assessments. So the assessments need to be outcome-based also. The assessment methods should be constructively aligned with the achievement of the LOs. You need to choose assessment methods that align with the learning outcome. Okay, so go back to your learning outcome, look at your learning outcome, and from there you see whether it is suitable or not. The assessment method should also support the learners in their learning progress. I always stress, 4 times already I said, formative assessment. So formative assessment is support learner in their learning progress, okay, and validate their achievement. Validate the achievement of the LOs at the end of the process is summative. Which one? Validate means you are an A student, you are a B student, that is summative. Improve learning, help students to learn is formative. Formative, you do every day when you see the student. You see the student, you're already doing formative assessment. You see their behavior, you're already doing. If Ali shows you, when you say something and suddenly your student frowns or really don't understand, do the face like mine like that. So automatically, he doesn't need to tell you that he don't understand. By looking at that person's face, you already know he don't understand. So you stop. Then you say, okay, let me just repeat this part. That is formative lah. Or you can even have the basic show of hands. How many of you do not understand? Please raise your hand. Then they raise their hand. That is formative lah. And this is something which I want you all to be cautious, all right, conscious about this formative assessment, because you guys are doing a lot of good things, but you don't sometimes take note. Okay, take note. Then from there you will be more in a way able to control or able to see how effective it is. So formative assessment, I find very important, very, very important. Okay. So, I put this before, many of you know, it is important for us to, this is what you all know, right? Apa ni? I think those business school lecturers should know because I did a session with you. It's important for us to, see, I'm trying to do formative assessment now. Can or not? Yes or no? Bear in mind, of course, bear in mind that students' assessments should be consistent with the program goals and intended learning outcomes. So it is important for us to see that the students' assessment should be consistent with the goals of the program or your PLOs and intended LOs, okay, intended learning outcomes itself. So when you need to really understand your learning outcomes properly before you can just say what assessment you want to do. Okay, so steps in assessment design. Okay, now these are the basic steps when you do your assessment. Step 1, what do you want to measure? Yes, that's just very important. What do you want to measure? If the CLO states something to do with students' ability to communicate, verbal communication. So that's what you want to measure. You want to measure ability of verbal communication. Then identify data required and source. For you to evaluate verbal communication, what data do you need? What data do you need? You need to data by actually hearing what that person says and with these conditions. The what condition? Condition is particular topic, particular time, particular duration. That is called data that you need. All right. And sources. What source is it required? Because it is self-presentation. Can this person write and somebody read for them? Cannot. He or she needs to read it on their own. So the source needs to be from the actual source itself, not from somebody else. Then review existing assessment model. What is being done at the moment for this? Then define additional measures and methods and measures. If the current method is no good, you define additional methods or measures, or you change methods. Then you implement and evaluate. Implement it, then you evaluate the assessment. then you go on. So it's always important for us to look into what do we want to measure and what data do we need itself. Okay, because if we want to measure students' knowledge in applying, students' knowledge in applying business plan, for example, application of business plan, that is what we want to measure. What data do we need? The data doesn't have to be a written work. It could be presented, because it is business plan, all right? It could be written work. It could be business. It could be presented also. Then you see the existing model. If the existing model is an exam, then maybe the exam is no good. So you want to change it. That is why entrepreneurship, when entrepreneurship started, there was an exam base. There was an exam component in entrepreneurship. Then when they went through, they find that no point. Entrepreneurship needs to have group work because one key aspect of entrepreneurship is working with people. So when you want one CLO is the ability to work with people, and that is critical, sangat penting. So best thing to do about entrepreneurship is work together in groups, work with different schools, let them headache, but how do they overcome it? So they change the assessment. Many institutions also change the assessment. So that is how it is. Okay. So this is assessment design. It starts off with what you want to measure, and what you want to measure comes from course learning outcome. Okay, the course learning outcome is critical over here. All right. Any questions, guys, so far? Understand on that? Is that a teddy bear? Hey, okay. Now only I see now only I see the chat over here. As I said, when I open my screen, I don't see the chat, That's so now I see, yes, you guys, is that a teddy bear? I can see bear in mind. Very good. Slow internet at GT campus. Is it? Evelyn, I'm in GT campus. Can you hear me loud and clear? Can, right? I think it's because the volume of my voice overcomes the slow internet. Yes. Okay. All right. That's good. All right. Okay. So as what we were saying. Okay. Now curriculum delivery. So after we understand the assessment already, assessment is driven by what we want to assess, the learning outcome itself. We will look at the learning outcome. Then after that, we assess what do we want to get it and what is the source of data that we need. Then from there, only we will look into what kind of method of assessment we do. The next part we're going to look at here is on the curriculum delivery. Curriculum delivery, I didn't say lecture, I said curriculum delivery. Delivering of the curriculum can come in many ways. I'm going to tell you a bit of a story that then you will feel that, maybe I'm quite old. Last time we used to have learning through post, mail. So you actually will write to this company, I want to study, then it is called distance learning. It's called distance learning. So when I was in my secondary school years, early secondary, mid-secondary in the 80s, I actually wrote to these people. I used to love electronics. If I didn't go into hospitality, I would have gone into electrical engineering or something. I wish I was accepted in the 5 certain places, but then eventually I said, I went to hospitality after that. Well, that's a story for a different day. When you talk about learning, there's so many ways. Last time I still remember we used to do learning by postal learning. Do any of you know or get an idea of what I'm saying, postal learning or learning through post? It is called distance learning. All right.
Correspondence learning.
Yes, you call it correspondence learning, right? Sorry, I may have forgot the term. It is I remember the Star newspaper. Last time we used to buy New Straits Time, and then we write in. Then after you write in already, you say you want to join this program, you want to join this, you send in. Then after a few weeks, a package will come, and in that package got notes on, got notes, got this, you pay lah, got notes, got this is assessment, assignment, and so on. So you do lah, you do. Then whatever you write, assessment and so on, then you send back. You send back to them, then they will assess, then they will send back to you. So doing one thing can take weeks on, can take a very, very long time one, correspondence learning. Have you all tried or not this one? Any of you tried this?
Yes.
Yes, Sheila. So you and me same age lah, lebih kurang lah. We are telling our age already. Quite fun, right? Last time. But then
Yes,
it
yes.
is individual courses, individual one, Satu is Jehan, of course, no lah. When Jehan was born, itu internet sudah ada. Okay. So basically, that was how it was. Okay. Now, there was a curriculum. There was a curriculum, definitely. And the key thing is the way we learned was through that. It was very self-initiative. Okay. So when we talk about curriculum delivery, there was no lecture. You baca sendiri. You baca sendiri one. And I remember the notes that you get are like from those secostyle one. Secostyle is this process of photocopy. It's not photocopying, They actually write it on the transcript, then it goes to a machine, crack, 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 crack. So the paper is like a very thick toilet paper, that kind of cheap paper one, very high fiber one. You can remember, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I still can remember. I think if I can trail it back in one of my boxes, I still can find one or two of it. And then that's what we do. Now, why I'm stressing on that is because even that method, I learned. That method also I learned. So when we talk about curriculum delivery, there is a curriculum. And in that curriculum, that company that did it had certain learning outcomes they need to achieve. But during the late 80s and the early 90s, the only method, there was no internet, was through that. Number two is called, what do you call that? TV. During that time, RTM had TV pendidikan. TV pendidikan is you go certain days, certain time, you on TV, and then they will teach you your chapter one, I mean, they will talk about your level. So let's say it's tingkatan 2, tingkatan 3 science. So you go in during that time lah, it's fixed one. You cannot select. So you learn curriculum delivery. That was the initial stage of virtual learning lah. But the thing that they didn't have was assessment. Assessment tak ada lah on the TV. So my teacher also good. My teacher wanted to encourage us to do that. So they say, hey, you guys go and learn, go and pay attention. So when we go back to class, she assessed us. Formative assessment. Same thing, virtual learning. We watch a TV at home. That time the TV, because it wasn't digital TV, it was adjust one. Certain days the thing will be running. Zoop, 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 zoop. Horrible. Okay. So now curriculum delivery. Okay. That there must be a variety of learning teaching methods in order to achieve the 8 MQF learning outcome domains or the 5 clusters. Okay. So the clusters over there, okay, and to ensure that students take responsibility for their own learning. So when you talk about curriculum delivery, there's a variety of learning teaching methods, so many ways, all right, to achieve the 8 learning outcome domains or the 5 clusters, and to ensure that students take responsibility for their own learning. Okay, so this is where you all as educators, sometimes you may need to step out from that familiar zone.
Can I see the dates again?
What dates?
9th June. That's correct. So the first option is stated on.
Okay, our friend accidentally unmuted himself, then he's asking about dates. Okay. So here, curriculum delivery is a process of achieving learning outcomes of the program and should be supported by assessment. So whatever method that you deliver, you are already rating students already. You are ready students for it. Okay. So if you let's say you want to build student stamina, and then you say, okay, students, I want to build your stamina for this semester. At the end of the semester, we are going to do a test. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, you come at 8 o'clock in the morning, we are going to jog around the campus for 5 rounds. We want to jog, so you build stamina. After building stamina, but then the assessment is, okay, now assessment is tomorrow, so I'm going to assess your stamina, and we are going to the swimming pool to swim. Cannot lah, because it's the same example earlier on. Whatever you deliver, whatever you require should also relate. So in class, if you don't do anything that requires students to have critical thinking, please don't assess them critical thinking. They cannot, if you don't allow them to do critical thinking. So that is why it's important. We know we need to do critical thinking in our exam because it is level 4 and 5, Bloom's taxonomy application. So in class, you better use methods or you better have students to demonstrate application. Then only they can demonstrate in their exam. Understand? Huh? If you don't, sure cannot one. Sure cannot one. Because in class, it's always just no required to think. Suddenly required to think, cannot. So you need to relate to that. That is where curriculum delivery plays a key role. When we design it itself, how do we do it? Okay. Now, the reason why the general element of lecture and seminars or seminars is so important is seminars are supposed to encourage the critical thinking element. By having a seminar, you allow students to make mistakes. Lecture is basically the one dimension. I teach, you listen first. Then lecture is the must know. The seminar is the is the application of the must know. So they apply those knowledge itself. That is why it is very important. Okay. Now, seminars doesn't have to be your traditional 2-hour seminars and so on. I teach, guys, when I teach lessons, I don't have separate seminars and lecture. Mine are just normal classes. But I will always use a duration of the time in my class for application. Teach, straight away, I apply, straight away. Okay, do something now, straight away, apply. Let's see how it works. Let's see how it works. Because for me, I believe in immediate rectification. If you tak
Let's
faham,
see. To back up on uh sorry, to back up
can.
Mr. Julian's statement, group
Okay, I had to mute him again. Okay, so
wait, sorry, can you hear me now?
can.
Right, so I did visit Global Game Jam last week on Saturday, and did notice that there were a lot of alumni and quite a number of our students from semester 2 to semester 5 they joined the
Ken,
Global Game
excuse me,
Jam.
Ken.
I think and a few from the final year students.
Ken, excuse
So
me. Yep.
but also in regards to semester game jams, which we have every
Yeah. I muted him. He
okay.
unmuted back.
Something wrong with my mic. Sorry.
Hey,
So
Ken, are you asking
the
the group here or are you speaking to somebody else?
the aspect of it is that the 9 June to 11 June is quite ample for semester game jam. It's also no, no,
Hey, Ken.
students are mostly we try to aim for semester 3.
See, this is interesting, right? See, technology is such. Guys, can you hear Ken speaking or is it me only?
Can.
No, we
You can hear, right?
him. Yeah.
You can.
I removed him from the meeting for I
Oh,
think
you-
I think he ran
See-
2 MS Team in one time.
Oh, he's running 2 MS team at one time.
I believe so. So I need to
Hero.
remove him.
Oh, you remove it. See,
He's,
Hazim
in the
is the
wrong
best.
topic
Solve
one.
problem, kick the person out.
Yes. Okay.
Stepping on
Okay,
two
okay.
boats. Stepping on 2 boats.
Stepping on two words cannot lah. Itu macam. Okay, so understand curriculum delivery guys. So please take note. So when we talk about curriculum delivery here, you need to be innovative. All right. So you need to look into the general aspects of how you do it. This is something that if you need any assistance, feel free to knock on my door, give me a call, send me a mail. I'll be happy to help you over here. Okay. So what is taught versus what is learned. From inputs such as what is taught to outputs, what is learned. So what is important is this. What we want to see here is what is learned by the students. What is taught is just process-based. What is taught is apa yang diajar. That means it is lecture, teacher-based. What is learned is more important. You can talk for 3 hours and students learn nothing. Or you can speak for half an hour and students learn everything. Okay, so this is where we need to understand. Now, and also the word taught here doesn't need to be physical taught, means teaching by teacher. What is taught can be the allowing or giving the resources required for the students to learn. Okay, and you evaluating after that. Then when you evaluate and students achieve, that is what it means by student has learned. Okay, so the inputs such is what is taught to outputs what is learned. Input, output. So input here, the student is here. Apa yang masuk? Input. So this is critical. How do we do it? So here, what we do, that is why we always emphasize active learning, blended learning, personalized learning. PBL, problems based learning, self-directed learning. All these jargons, guys, are only jargons, but what it says is the same. All right, is to give autonomy to the student. All right, there is so many ways that the students can learn. All right, learning takes place in many different ways. All right, it is like when ChatGPT came out, I was interested. I didn't go for a lecture. I learned on my own. I go in, I sign in, I play on my own, and so on. Then after that, I learned that Bing now is Microsoft is working with ChatGPT. And it is a better version. The one that I'm using is actually an outdated version. So I sign in, and now Bing sends me email. You are on the waiting list for the new Bing. Okay, so I am very excited about this. How will it then take us to the next level? All right, how will it take us to the next level as educators? How do we use this as the tool for us to educate? Because when we are able to educate our students properly, then they will learn. Okay, they will learn. Okay, now learning is something that will stay with them. That is why it's learned. Sometimes when our parents say, you don't learn one, you make the same mistakes. You know, when I was young, I was a naughty fella. So sometimes we do mistakes. Last week get one tight slap, this week get the same tight slap again for the same mistakes we make. So parents will say, you don't learn one. Why? What does it mean by you don't learn? Means you're making the same mistakes. If you learn, you won't make the same mistakes over and over again. So this is what we want from the student. We want students to learn, to inculcate in them that at the end of the day, this is the knowledge and this is how it is. What do? These are the different methods lah. Blended learning, problem-based, self-directed, flipped classroom. Now, I want to take a few minutes here to stress a little bit on this thing called flipped classroom. Flipped classroom is something that is not new. When I was in my undergraduate studies overseas, my lecturer already do flipped classroom. Okay, this lecturer first lesson come in, first lesson, ladies and gentlemen, I remember it was a human resources class, 100 over students. So you said, okay, this is how it is. All right, students, I've already broken down you into your groups. Please see your groups over there. Next week, group 1, you're going to do the chapter. Group 2, you're going to do chapter, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay, so I was looking, wow, I am group 3. In the 4th week, I need to do lecture, my group, you know. We are going to teach the whole class, you know. We are going to teach the whole class, you know. So like then initially we were like, peace, bloody hell, come here to pay so much money overseas and I need to do teaching. Yo, what the hell is this, man? You get angry. But then after you do, then you do. Then only you realize what is the realities of it. After doing already, you will always remember. I still remember the topic that I was doing is on training, practical training, just training aspects. And what area that we were focusing on was this thing called tell, show, do. The concept of tell, show, do. Tell, show, do is a concept where for us to train people, there is this thing you tell something, they will only absorb 15, 20%. You show them, they will absorb 40%. You do with them, they will absorb, say, 60%. Then it's tell, show, do, repeat. Then it needs to be repeated and demonstrate. Tell, show, do, repeat, demonstrate. So the people need to demonstrate back. So this process of training is what that was our topic. And now, until now, I can still remember. This was actually practiced in the nursing faculty over in UK. They are the one that started it. Tell, show, do, repeat, and demonstrate. All right. So what I'm trying to say is this. I can remember until now, you know. So it works. It really works. At that stage, a lot of our students, even now, if you do flip classroom with your student, some of them will be not happy. Some of them will be happy. Those who don't see the value will say, what is this? I come here to learn. Those who come here to learn, no, those people thought they come here to be taught, not to learn, to be taught. So you need to explain to them. By doing so, you will learn. You see, by doing so, you will learn. Because we need to understand our students, a lot of them have been fixed in their mind on certain processes that they have gone through in the past 10, 11 years. So 10, 11 years, it has been like that, hard to change. So for us to change it, it is a process. But we don't have much time. So they need to realize the benefits of that switch itself. Now, the same student that here they don't accept, you send them overseas, and overseas they do it. Okay? they won't complain one, you know. They will, oh, okay, I will need to learn. That is why a lot of our students, when we get feedback from our partners, hey, this guy very good, very good student. Then our mind over in Malaysia, hopeless fella, every time very lazy, but go over there, very good. Why? Environment. Over here, all the group members also say, why should we do it? So he also jump the bandwagon, why should we do it? You go overseas, you go to UK, you go to Australia, in your group members, when teachers say that, you want to say why you should do it, all your friends say, let's do it. You got no choice but to let's do it. This is environmental shaping, okay? Shaped by the environment. It's like that lah. Okay, so that is why in a lot of like public U and so on, sometimes when I chat with some of our colleagues who are in public U or certain more prominent universities, they say, no, we give them pre-reading. They come in, they don't read, they kena, because they know what is expected from them. Okay, so this is what it is. What is taught versus what is learned. All right, so what is taught here? How do you teach? So knowledge and understanding can be lectures, tutorials, cognitive skill case studies, practical demonstration, case studies, project tutorials, and so on. So what we mean here is this: learning doesn't have to be lecture only. Lecture can be, it can be inside there definitely, but there are many ways of doing it. Okay, it can be visitations. Visitations are very, very good methods for learning. You bring them down to the gardenia factory, they see things. Okay, you bring them down like culinary. Sometimes we want to explain to students about costing or whatnot. Sometimes you just bring down to the restaurant. Look at this, look at the cost involved. When they look up, they see. Because they sometimes they don't visualize, you know, when you talk about, hey, electricity very high, they don't see. I only see 2 lights only, mah. But when you bring them to a restaurant, you see, look at that. Look at how many air cons do they need. Look at how many lights do they need. Then they visualize, wow, actually a lot is a big percentage, that fixed cost over there. So these are the different methods, teaching and learning strategies that we can look into. And it is continually progressing. During the MCO, I can tell you another one. This is actual. During the MCO, when it started on 18th of March, I remember that was the biggest headache, because for us doing teaching and learning, every single day, I'm calling my guys, I'm getting questions from colleagues and so on. Get what to do, this and that. How do we change this and that? How do we? And then I was having meetings with my bosses and so on to rectify situations. Our lecturer, when put in situations, some of them are so creative. So creative. I got one lecturer who did her lecture using WhatsApp. Do her slides, lecture, explanation during WhatsApp. When it impacted immediately, a lot of students didn't have laptop, you know, no laptop. No laptop. Okay, and no data connection. Why? Where got think about data? This 18th of March when it impacted. Remember, it started 2 weeks, 2 minggu. So we thought 2 minggu lah, garu kepala 2 minggu habis lah, go back already. Then the 2 weeks become 4 weeks. Then the 4 weeks become 6 weeks. The 6 became 8 and it went on and went on. Right now. So earlier on, we said, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks. Fine lah. Okay, we just take a pause, slow down a little bit, do what we can. We're going to come back already. But it went on. So certain of our lectures were so creative because it wasn't so much of just they use different technologies, different methods. They use WhatsApp. I know. They send notes using WhatsApp. The teacher, the lecturer send slide using WhatsApp, communicate using WhatsApp, explain using WhatsApp. Because WhatsApp or mobile phone was something all the student had. All the student had. So that was using different learning, teaching strategies. All right. And why? When a situation requires, guys, all of us are very creative one. Very, very creative one. Okay. And in conclusion, now I think you all like to hear that. Okay. And in conclusion, I just want to take the next few minutes to stress on this. When we look into OBE as our journey has gone through today, we have seen what is it all about. We have heard about William Spady. We have heard about the 3 key aspects or the 3 key principles. We understand that OBE starts from the organization. It starts from PEO all the way down. We understand that it is what the students learn, what the students understand and can demonstrate versus what we can give itself. We also understand that assessment and teaching and learning are key components to ensure the achievement of that OBE. All of these there are just theoretical knowledge. On our side, as educators, what is important for you is you need to adapt what you are doing. I can say most of you or all of you have already elements of OBE as what I said in your learning, in your teaching, and in your assistance of learning to your students. So it is important for you now to see what areas can you improve. Okay, what areas can you improve? What areas can you further elaborate and make it better? Those are the key things. And from there, you will grow with it. All right. And you also need to understand the changing environment that is driving us to do this change, where the industry demands that this is then required at the end of the day for the students to be relevant. That is the keyword. I always believe this. This is my year. This is a rabbit year. All right. So I'm already 48. How many years more do we have in this education? All right. I'm trying to retire early if possible also, those kind of things we are looking for. But at the end of the day, what is important is whatever we do, we need to make sure our students there are relevant. For us, relevancy is definitely important, but it's a little bit different because when we came into the industry, when I started teaching in 98, 1998, I can still remember that. So this is 2003, nearly 25 years. That's besides the point. It was so different. It was so different. The environment was so different when I started teaching then. I still remember started teaching ABE, Association of Business Executives. I used to teach the higher diploma students. Wow, very different, very chalkboard. Literally chalk. I still remember my old institution. Kapo, Then after that, marker pen. Then after that, OHPs, overhead projectors. You write overhead projector. It has evolved. And then students during classes, I teach students, okay, this is it. You copy, you do this. Then after that, they will copy, they will follow, and they will do, and so on. And they learn. And my text was just the ABE books, the textbooks. So now cannot really. Now, not enough. We need to evolve. All right. What is needed by the student? During that time, when the students go and work, the owner, the manager will say, you ada degree ada. Okay, jom masuk, start work. Now different. Okay, so that is why the outcome of the student has evolved, and that drives us to ensure the students change in that manner. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions? Now, are there any questions? Feel free. Do your paham? Any questions so far? Do you understand the key concepts and ideas? Can okay, very clear. Thank you very much. Feel free. Okay, now very clear, good. What is important is at the end of the day, it is important if you have any issues, questions, and I want you all to share. Please share with your colleagues. If you have good practice, share with your colleagues so that all of them will be able to benefit. Because a lot of good things that you all do is sometimes only you know. Okay, so we want you all to share with your colleagues so that everybody can benefit. So this year, I just want to emphasize in my last statement over here is Teaching and Learning Center, we are emphasizing more sharing this year. This year, there's going to be less physical, what do you call it, theoretical training. We are going to start off with sit-down sharing sessions within colleagues. So where we will facilitate, then we will share what are your practices of OBE, how do you do this, how do you get students to do flipped classroom? Because previously I had a colleague, she was a master in flipped classroom. Hema, some of you may have known her. Hema, our ex-colleague over here, she was the master. The way she does it, she could actually get students to really do. She was very good in the flip aspect. So I learned from her also, to be honest. Yes, she was my staff. We talked together and I went in and I told her, hey, Ma, I sit into your class for 1 hour. I learned so many things also because my idea and your idea different, but your idea is more effective. I told her, see, your idea is more effective. The way that she relates based on upbringing, my upbringing, her discipline, my discipline were very, very different. Okay, so because of that, regardless of whether you are the head of school, the ADH, the BL, please go and see. Please go and see your colleagues. Drop into their class, share, and from that, we will then progress and to be better. All right. With that, I would like to say thank you very much. It has been a pleasure speaking to all of you. Today is a good it's a Good Friday day. I think today I see Penang is still very bright, very good. And the best thing is nursing school. Miss Margaret has already called me up to have lunch with her later in her nursing school. So that is it. My lunch is set over here already. And thank you. Have a very good weekend. Take a rest. See you when I see you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.